Wel, croeso nôl pawb, prynhawn da i chi gyd. Rydyn ni'n symud nawr yn syth i'r cwestiynau i'r prif weinidog. Cwestiwn 1, Art Wright.
Will the First Minister make a statement on accident and emergency provision in Newport and Llawn?
The Minor Injuries Unit at the Royal Gwent Hospital, located in the Casnewydd and Distwyn constituency, met the national target in April. 96% of patients were assessed, treated and discharged within the 4-hour standard. But more broadly, I expect the Aneurin Bevan University Health Board to deliver sustainable improvements to emergency care across the wider Gwent area. NHS Performance and Improvement is actively providing support and reviewing the Health Board's plan.
I thank the First Minister for his answer. It is already clear from my constituents what the majority issues they face, which are, given the continuing pressures upon emergency healthcare services across Gwent, do you agree that the lack of a full and properly functioning accident and emergency service in Newport is now having a serious knock-on effect on residents in Cumbran and the wider Torfaen area, with constituents facing longer journey times, increased waiting times and added pressure on already stretched hospitals? Diolch.
I certainly agree that the provision of suitable, effective, high-quality accident and emergency in the members' constituency and throughout Wales is vitally important. We need a significant improvement on the current situation. And the Grange Hospital, serving the wider Gwent area, consistently falls short, of course, of meeting the 4-hour standards. Latest performance figures are unsatisfactory. Prolonged waiting times continue to pose significant challenges, so I couldn't make it clearer than to say that my Cabinet Minister for Health and Care and myself wants to see much more being done to provide the kind of level of care that the member references. Jane Bryant.
Diolch, Llywydd. And as a local resident, I'm very aware of some of the unacceptable delays that people have experienced in accident emergency at the Grange Hospital. And I've also been struck by the number of people who have said to me that individual NHS staff members are trying their absolute best to provide excellent care under pressure. The previous Welsh Labour Government invested significantly in the Grange Accident Emergency Department because the unacceptably long waits and corridor care experienced by some patients requires action to a systematic level. An important aspect of improving emergency care is keeping people out of hospital in the first place, as well as the safe, timely discharge of patients to free up capacity in emergency departments. Whether it's working with local authorities on social care, community care or transfers to other hospitals like the Royal Gwent, how is the Welsh Government going to fund the integration of pathways out of acute hospital care?
We know that integration has to be at the heart of creating sustainability within the health and care service as a whole. Keeping people out of hospital is an important part of that. A strong social care sector at the back door of the hospital is key to that. The member references the investment made in the Grange. What this government is determined to do is not just count the pennies, but look at the outcomes that come out of investments, and that will guide us as a principle through the course of this government.
Natasha Ashgar.
Thank you so much, Presiding Officer. First Minister, it's no secret that the state of our health service is one of, if not the most important issue that matters to residents across in Wales. It's something that came up time and time again during the election campaign when talking to people on the doorsteps. And as things stand, my constituents are sent to the Grange and Cumbran, which is already struggling to cope with demand in an emergency situation. In Newport, there are growing calls to have an A&E department to be reopened at the Royal Gwent Hospital in the heart of the city. It's anticipated that the cost of doing this will cost approximately £10 million a year, which in the grand scheme of things is just a drop in the ocean when looking at the Welsh Government's budget. Not only would this alleviate pressure off the Grange, but it would also create job opportunities, something particularly needed given the recent warning that up to half of all nursing graduates in Wales may be left without a job due to recruitment challenges, despite NHS Wales service facing unprecedented pressures. So, First Minister, will you heed my constituents' calls and engage with the Health Board to explore reopening the A&E at the Royal Gwent in Newport? Thank you.
I hear the calls, as I will hear calls, no doubt, for investment in different parts of the country. What's important to me, I think, is to recognise the challenges that are being faced by the members' constituents, to put together a level of service that provides for the needs of her constituents. Welsh Government officials, NHS Performance and Improvement and the Health Board are currently working together to agree an intervention approach based on the infrastructure that we have for the delivery of health. Let's see where we can get on improving the services in that way.
Peredur Owen Griffiths.
Diolch Llywydd. Prif Weinidog, dros y 6 mis diwethaf, ydych chi'n gwybod bod fi wedi cael profiad personol iawn o feddyginiaeth frys ar ôl disgyn yng Nghas Newydd a Rhigo Tendon yn ymhenglin. Nes i gael ymweld yn y Royal Went, yn y Grange, a wedyn cael llawdriniaeth yn St Woolas. Yn ystod y cyfnod hwnnw, gwelais y gorau o fwrdd iechyd yn Eirin Befin, ond hefyd y pwysau aruthrol sydd ar y system. Roedd y staff yn broffesiynol ac yn garedig yn gwneud i gorau glas o dan amgylchiadau anodd iawn. Gwelais hefyd beth mae pwysau ni gael ei wneud ar y system yn ei olygu i gleifion, ar osiadau hir, diffyg capacity, pwysau'r wlau, ac i fi y peth mwyaf anodd i ddelio fo oedd yr ansicrwydd cyfathrebu am beth sy'n mynd i ddigwydd nesaf. Felly, Prif Weinidog, ydych chi yn cytuno bod gwella gofal bris yng Nghas Newydd Islwyn yn golygu edrych ar y daith gyfan y claf, dim jyst y targedau, a bod cyfathrebu'n glir yn fewnol rhwng adrannau gyda cleifion a theuluoedd yn rhan anatod o wneud yn siŵr bod pobl yn cael eu trin gyda urddas o ddechrau i'r diwedd.
Hefos, yn falch o weld yr aelod yn ôl ar ei draed yn llythrennol. Mae'n cynlluniau ni i wella y gwasanaethau iechyd yn seiliedig ar ddull system gyfan, fel mae'r aelod yn ei nodi yn gywir. Mi fydd yn cynllun gweithlu newydd enghraifft yn cynnwys pwyslais ar well cynllunio strategol ar gyfer gwasanaethau mwyn hwyluso llif cleifion, yn tynnu ar arfer gorau sy'n eisoes i weld mewn rhai rhannau o Gymru. Mae angen i ledaenio a'i wareiddio fo ar raddfa genedlaethol. Dyna ni hefyd yn gwybod bod rhaid i'r mesur a fynd law yn llaw a cryfhau gofal cymunedol, a dwi'n gwybod bod gan yr ysgrifennydd cabinet ddiddordeb arbennig mewn sicrhau bod pwysigrwydd proffesiynau perthynol i iechyd yn gweithredu'n effeithiol a bod hynny'n cael ei adlewyrchu yn ein cynlluniau ni.
Cwestiwn 2, David Mills.
What action will the Welsh Government take to address water pollution?
Welsh Government is determined to improve water quality. We have committed to taking full control of our water and to tackling pollution through developing a system made in Wales for Wales. This includes better data, cleaner rivers and science-led, outcome-based and risk-appropriate regulation. We will act by targeting prevention and enforcement where evidence shows it is needed, using technology and nature-based solutions.
First Minister, we all know that Welsh Water is pumping raw sewage out into our rivers. Each year, they get fined millions of pounds. And each year, their CEO gets huge bonuses. I mean, this is so wrong. What concrete action is the First Minister going to take to address this?
I hope that members across this chamber will agree with Plaid Cymru's determination to take Welsh water into Welsh hands. It is because we want to set a set of values which could include senior executive pay, for example, into the way that water is run in Wales. What we want also, of course, is to have a system that works. We want clean rivers. We have a clear manifesto commitment to improving water quality and setting clear expectations of Natural Resources Wales, Ofwat and the water companies themselves. We want to be able to deliver or monitor delivery rather through this current price review period and hold companies to account for meeting their investment and performance commitments, including on matters such as storm overflows which pollute our rivers and wider environmental outcomes.
Rebecca Phillips.
Diolch, Llywydd. Over recent weeks, concerns have been raised by residents in the Swansea Valley regarding the condition of the River Tower, following reports that a number of individuals, many children, have fallen ill after entering the water. I welcome the new Plaid Cymru Government's commitment to improve the collection and quality of data on pollution incidents and its ambition to ensure that every water body in Wales achieves at least good ecological status. May I ask the First Minister to provide assurance to residents within my constituency of Brycheiniog Tawe Nedd that the Government will work closely with Natural Resources Wales and yw'r Cymru to thoroughly investigate these incidents and take the necessary action to safeguard public health and improve water quality.
I am aware of and concerned about recent reported incidents of sickness when individuals have been swimming in the River Tawe. I have asked Natural Resources Wales to investigate the reports, and I will provide an update when further information becomes available. I can provide assurance, certainly, that I will work with all stakeholders necessary to ensure a joined-up approach to any investigations and associated responses.
A critical environmental issue caused by sewerage, agricultural runoff, industrial waste and plastic debris, severely impacting ecosystems, human health and water quality. On the River Tawe, Trebanos pumping station is not splitting rainwater and sewage, so when it gets full, the two choices are to let it back up and flood the houses with sewage or release into the river. As mentioned earlier, there have been reports of children being taken ill after swimming in the River Tawe. Natural Resources Wales has confirmed that work to prevent regular discharge of untreated sewage in the River Tawe from Trebanos wastewater treatment works is not likely to be completed until 2030. I do not believe that is acceptable. Why do you think ending the ban on slurry spreading from mid-October to January is not going to further increase pollution in the River Tawe? We know that it gets into rivers such as the Tawe. It can cause algal blooms, which block sunlight and deplete water oxygen, affecting all wildlife.
Two parts to that answer. Measures around the spreading of slurry is about avoiding environmental pollution in rivers so that agriculture isn't forced to follow the calendar and is actually able to work in a technologically based way to spread slurry in a way that doesn't pose a threat to rivers. I think that's a very important thing to remember. And on the need to make sure that investment works, that is why we want the regulation of water to be done here in Wales, so that we can make sure that when investment goes in, that it provides us with the outcomes that we need, which includes, of course, clean rivers.
Paul Davis.
First Minister, reports of sewage discharges in Ceredigion Pembro are also far too frequent, and my constituents are increasingly frustrated that these incidents continue to occur with little visible progress in addressing this pollution. Now, as well as tackling these discharges and storm overflows, urgent action is also needed to improve our water infrastructure to prevent these incidences from recurring. Now, as you're aware, West Wales is home to many blue flag and green coast beaches, and it's vital that these water quality standards can continue to be met so that our coast can be enjoyed by local residents and indeed visitors to the area as well. Therefore, can you outline what steps are currently being taken to address repeated sewage discharges in West Wales? And further to your earlier answers, what further measures will this government introduce to tackle this issue in Ceredigion Pembro and ensure that the local beaches continue to maintain high quality standards?
I think the most important thing to do is to repeat what I said. We will act by targeting prevention and enforcement where evidence shows it is needed. That means in relation to polluted rivers, and it means in relation to polluted seas around our coast. We want to see urgent action. It is why we want to see regulation of Wales being devolved to Wales, so that we can have as much influence as possible on the cleanliness of our rivers and our seas.
Jane Dodds.
And good afternoon, First Minister. I just want to go back to the issues around yw'r Cymru, if I may, please. In just 2 years, people have seen their average water bill rise by over 30%, yet this is not translated into clear improvements in water quality. England and Wales remain the only countries in Europe to have fully privatised water and sewerage services. At the same time, senior pay, as we've heard, remains extremely high. The previous chief executive of yw'r Cymru received an annual salary close to £900,000. The current new chief executive, Roch Sharu, who joined from Sydney Water in Australia, another large water company that has faced ongoing challenges with sewage overflows and water quality, His salary is going to be between 420,000 and 460,000. I think that is pretty shameless. So I would like to ask you, what action will you be taken in order to address both the disparity in our water bills increasing and the pay that we're seeing in the senior executives, and ensuring that we get improved water? Diolch yn fawr iawn.
The rising cost of bills in recent times has caused real pain to people. You know, it is an element, a significant element for many people when it comes to the challenges of cost of living. And when you look at higher bills, it is particularly difficult to stomach in the context of very high executive pay. I am on the record previously as saying that one of the reasons that we want to regulate water in Wales is to make sure that we are able to have influence over the levels of executive pay. But it's about providing a better service ultimately to our customers here in Wales, so the people that we represent, and making sure that we have the clear waters and the clear seas that we all want to see.
Galwaf yn awr ar arweinwyr y pleidiau I holi'r prif weinidog, arweinydd Reform UK, Dan Thomas.
Diolch, Llywedd. First Minister, thousands of people in Wales are still waiting more than 2 years for treatment on the Welsh NHS. Whereas in England, 2-year waits were virtually eradicated some time ago, which proves that ending 2-year waits can be achieved. During the election campaign, you said that 2-year waits could end in a matter of months, but your new health minister has said it will happen within 4 years. So my question is, what expectations has your government set for 2-year waits? Is it the promise that you made during the election campaign, or is it what your health minister has said more recently? And if it is the latter, will you apologise to voters for misleading them during the campaign?
I'm grateful to the Leader of the Opposition for now agreeing with us that health is a priority here in Wales. Listen, I've made it very, very clear that there are two elements to what we're trying to do. We want to cut waiting lists in the short term, and we want to build a sustainable health and care service for the long term. I reiterate that a priority for us now is to tackle in the coming months those issues of the longest 2-year waits. And in fact, I'm not waiting for the next months. Work has already begun to put in practice the changes that are necessary to tackle that very issue.
First Minister, 30% of voters voted for reform because they do trust us with the NHS. And 10,000 people were stuck in A&E for over 12 hours last month, and ambulance handover targets are consistently missed. Health should be your top priority, and you recently acknowledged this in the Chamber, that there is an emergency situation within the NHS. But on social media, you've highlighted the non-devolved matter of international relations as being within your remit as First Minister, and an area which enjoys a £9 million budget. Now, Reform believes that that money should be spent here in Wales on the Welsh NHS. And, for example, it could be used to employ hundreds of newly qualified nurses. So, First Minister, why are you continuing Labour's policy of spending large sums of money abroad when it should be spent in Wales, and we should be putting the people of Wales first?
Yeah. I'll begin this answer in the spirit that I want to conduct my business here by pointing out that more people voted for Plaid Cymru because they trusted our pledges to deliver a sustainable health and care service for the future. Let's be serious about the challenges that we face rather than the small change that is referred to by the Leader of the Opposition. We are talking about significant sums of money that we are investing already through a budget deal last year into the NHS. But I can assure you of this. It's through innovation, it's through working with staff within the NHS that we provide that sustainability for the future. I remind the Leader of the Opposition that he leads a group in Wales from a party whose leader does not believe in an NHS funded through general taxation. That is a principle that we will defend here as we deliver that NHS that's fit for the future for patients and for staff alike.
Well, I'll remind the First Minister that Plaid Cymru only won 6% more than reform. And that very small lead can be eroded when you do not stick to your policies and when you do not show determination to put the people of Wales first. So I'll just remind you of that. But you have made clear that your priorities are elsewhere. But that's not surprising, coming from a First Minister who, on your first call with the Prime Minister, raised independence as an issue. The public expect you and your government to give your full attention to the NHS, to focus on the day job. You will be aware of an investigation by Audit Wales that uncovered £10 million worth of GP contracts were awarded without due diligence and with patients criticising the service. This is a scandal that should never happen again. What discussions have you had with your Nair and Bevan Health Board, and indeed all health boards across Wales, regarding financial probity? And can you reassure us that this scandal will not be repeated under your watch?
It's going to be a very long Senedd term. It's about if it starts in this way, but we got certain percentage more than you in the election. Listen, we have a programme for government that we have laid in front of the people of Wales, which absolutely gets to grips with issues such as that which was referred to in the Nair and Bevan. We want to make sure that we cut out the decisions such as the one that he referred to, so that we can focus spending on where it makes a difference to the patients that we all are here to serve. The programme for government, I remind, is this. It is about creating better jobs in all parts of Wales. It is about raising education standards. It is about a childcare offer in order to help with the cost of living. It's about standing up for Wales. And number one, it's about creating an NHS and care service that is fit for the future. That was our pledge, and that was what we are determined to deliver in government.
Arweinydd Llafur Cymru, Ken Skates.
First Minister, again we are seeing the terrible impact of rising energy costs across Wales on our citizens, on our businesses and of course on our public services. Our dependence on energy from overseas must end, not only because it threatens our national security, but because it also subjects our people to immense global instability. Do you agree that alongside renewables, the building of as many as 8 small modular reactors at yw'r offers enormous opportunity to provide energy security, lower bills and 8,000 jobs, 3,000 of which will be in your constituency?
Yes, I have on a personal level, always taken the approach of fighting for the economic benefits that come to that particular part of Wales from that development, which is a reserved matter. But the key thing is here that my Cabinet Minister for Energy will be focused on the same thing. It's about looking at how we make the most of this opportunity in terms of job creation and in terms of the environmental impact of that. And the member has my assurance that that will be the principle that guides us.
To the First Minister for his answer, but can we just have absolute clarity on what the Welsh Government position on small modular reactors now is? I ask because your manifesto failed to reference nuclear energy, failed to provide support for SMRs at yw'r, and of course your Energy Minister has said that the party, Plaid Cymru, at a national level must be clear in its opposition to yw'r B. Does this Plaid minority government support the building of 8 SMRs at yw'r, which will likely generate more energy than a single gigawatt facility?
I remind the leader of the Labour group that his party used to say that it supported the ordinary working man and woman. My position on yw'r is very, very clear. This is a reserved matter, and the manifesto coming into this election said that there were matters that were reserved, which absolutely includes yw'r. We will work positively on that particular plan because of the economic benefits locally that can flow from it and across the wider region, plus on the elements of the environmental positives associated with it.
The Caedwadwyr Cymraeg, Darren Miller.
Thank you. First Minister, can you tell us what action your government is going to take to deal with the repeated chaos as a result of the frequent closure of the Menai Suspension Bridge? It's causing misery for residents, commuters and businesses across North Wales. And of course, that bridge and the Britannia Bridge serve an island community of 70,000 people that you represent, which is home to one of the most strategically important ports in the United Kingdom and will soon be home to a very important nuclear power facility as well. My colleague, Janet Finch-Saunders, has responded to the anger on the ground by taking the lead and organising a public meeting in order that this can be discussed on the 12th of June in Llangefni, so that the long-term resolution can be brought forward. You've previously spoken loudly and clearly in the Senedd in favour of a third Menai crossing. So now that you're sitting behind the First Minister's desk, can you show some leadership, attend that public meeting on the 12th of June, look residents in the eye and outline precisely what action your government is going to take to bring forward that third Menai suspension bridge as soon as possible?
I think most people can see who's been fighting for a long time over that particular issue, and I'm certainly not planning on waiting until the 12th of June. People in Ynys Môn have been let down for too long when it comes to the resilience of the Menai crossings. It is unacceptable that we have been in this position where deadlines have been missed time and time again, and where work to fix a bridge that could and should have been done a long time ago is still dragging on year after year. Where previous governments refused to see this problem as a priority, this new Welsh Government will act with greater urgency and focus. And as I say, I won't wait until the 12th of June. I've committed to renewing the process of developing solutions to improve the resilience of transport links across the Menai Strait. That's why we have already begun work within government with a view to ensuring short-term measures around the Menai crossing and long-term solutions for resilience across the Menai Strait. And yes, the third crossing is a part of those considerations. But let me remind you this, it's not a structure that we need, it's an answer. Let's get the answer and move there quickly.
We absolutely need a solution. Of course, you had an opportunity. Every time you did a budget deal and a legislation deal with the previous Welsh Government, you could have actually brought forward some solutions and put some money in the tin in order to get this project on the go. But you didn't, did you? Because it wasn't one of your priorities. Instead, you and the Plaid Cymru MSs at that time voted against major investment in our roads infrastructure across the country, not just in North Wales, but also, of course, on the M4 corridor in the south as well. You actively blocked major road building projects across this country. Now that your party is in government, you have nowhere to hide. The previous Labour administration wasted £150 million developing an M4 relief road project, which they then ditched. You welcomed the decision to ditch that project and chuck that money down the drain. And meanwhile, the gridlock around Newport continues to strangle growth, deter investment and leave thousands of people every single day trapped in traffic jams. During the election, you changed your tune. You promised to resolve the issue. The public want action, not words. So can you tell us, First Minister, when will we see action, not just on the Menai crossing, which you've referred to, but the M4 relief road too?
It's a very long question, but with a very short answer. The Brynglas tunnels are a well-known bottleneck and an economic constraint for Wales. And it's clear that action is needed to address congestion on the M4. Money was wasted, I must say, in getting to a place when nothing has happened in recent years. And this government is already doing the work to identify the solutions that will be effective and economically and environmentally responsible in order that we can deliver long-term benefits socially and economically for the people of, yes, the south-east of Wales and the Brynglas areas, but we know that it's much wider than that too. But that doesn't take away from the work that also happens to improve infrastructure and improving public transport and so on.
Question 3, Paul Rock.
Diolch, Llywyd. How will the First Minister ensure that progress in responding to the nature and climate crisis across government portfolios is transparently and meaningfully measured and reported without a specific Minister for the Environment?
Across all of our commitments, this government will measure progress through a clear, data-led and disciplined approach, tracking what is actually changing on the ground so that we can see what is working. The Cabinet holds collective responsibility for the cross-cutting issues of climate and nature, and we're committed to clear public reporting on Wales's progress towards net zero through an accessible online dashboard.
Diolch, First Minister. The homes of my constituents in Nantgarw were devastated by flooding in 2020, and they live in constant fear that this will happen again. The devastating impact on communities of extreme weather is only going to become more common as the climate crisis develops. As Greens, we believe government effectiveness must include effectiveness on tackling the climate and nature crisis, and a joint working approach between the Minister for Rural Resilience and Sustainability and the Minister for Government Effectiveness and Constitution with termly reporting would be the best way to approach this. How will you measure and report on the effectiveness of action taken by the Welsh Government in tackling the climate and nature crisis to ensure accountability to this Senedd and to the people whose lives are affected?
I agree very much with the sentiment that has been expressed there, and it's in the title of the minister. Cabinet Minister for Government Effectiveness means exactly that. It's making sure that as a government we are able to break down those silos, encourage cooperation between ministers, making sure that there aren't sort of walls between those different elements of potential delivery that can address the climate challenge. And it's not just the Cabinet Minister for Government Effectiveness and the Cabinet Minister for Rural Resilience and Sustainability. It's the way that dovetails in with the work of the Cabinet Minister for Enterprise, for Innovation and Energy. It's the way that we educate our young people through the Cabinet Minister for Education. I really wish this to be a hallmark of the way that this government works and operates. As I said in my initial answer, we will be providing the tools by which you hopefully will be able to hold us to account, including these digital dashboards that we are so determined to bring forward.
Niamh Salkeld.
Diolch, Llywyd. First Minister, this question raises how progress on the climate and nature emergency is measured and reported across government. In my constituency of Blaenau Gwent Caerphilly Rymney, we see very clearly why that matters. In Cwmtleri, a devastating coal-tip landslide over a year ago brought home how the climate crisis directly impacts our lives. With 85 tips in the highest risk category across Wales, communities are asking not just where the work is happening, but how progress is being tracked and shared. I welcome this Plaid Cymru government's commitment to remediation and to working with the UK government on funding, as well as linking this to jobs in former coalfield communities like mine. But without cross-government reporting, people on the ground can struggle to see how these commitments translate into measurable change. So can I ask the First Minister what mechanisms will be used to ensure that progress on coal tip safety and wider climate resilience work is measured and reported across portfolios so that communities like Cwmtleri can have confidence that risks are being reduced and opportunities delivered? Diolch.
The member's right. This government is committed to dealing with the consequences of our industrial past and ensuring justice for our coalfield communities. I did visit Cwmtleri myself after that recent landslip, which really brought home the threats that so many communities are facing. Now, we know that addressing threats associated with coal tips will need a sustained programme of investment. The mining industry, of course, predates devolution, so we're clear of the view that it's the UK government that should foot that bill. We'll make the case for that, and as part of our suite of measures, we will obviously want to enable members across this chamber to be able to measure progress against that stated aim.
R.T. Davis.
Thank you, First Minister. First Minister, for the policies of the government to be effective in the environment portfolio, you need some of the best land managers in the world to be looking after our countryside. And we have them in Wales, in the farming community. One of the key issues, though, to make sure that they stay on the land is to really make progress on bovine TB. Your government has indicated via the Minister that there will be a new approach to bovine TB. So can you confirm what your interpretation is of the science that makes your approach different from the failed Labour approach that used to prevail here in Wales? And will we see that new bovine TB plan before the Royal Welsh Show in the summer recess?
The member is right that my party is determined to bring forward a new approach. I'll put it this simply. It has to be based on the science. We will be ensuring that we work with those experts now who are able to provide us with the answers, and the Cabinet Minister will bring details forward in due course.
Cwestiwn 4, Stephen Senior.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Will the First Minister commit to offering separate physics, chemistry and biology GCSEs and reverse the previous administration's plans to offer only combined science?
Qualifications Wales announced in September 2025 that separate GCSEs in physics, chemistry and biology would continue to be available.
I think the First Minister knows that there is a review of that over the next 2 years, and I'm disappointed that he can't at this stage commit to saying that he would reverse that review over a 2-year period. I should declare an interest. I'm a member of the Institute of Physics, and I'm also a member of both the ASCL and NASUWT teaching unions. I was reminded seeing the film recently, the quite delightful film of the First Minister singing back in 1983, and I also recall that back in the 1980s, like myself, he probably had a choice of 6 or even 7 subjects for O-level or GCSE. The Key Stage 4 curriculum has been so squeezed with so much compulsory content that this has become an issue of time for the 3 sciences, time for music, time for computing, time for modern foreign languages and so on. I just wonder whether the First Minister would consider looking at the wider issue of Key Stage 4 and how we can give our pupils more options in terms of the curriculum so that we can develop some of those subjects which are so important for an advanced economy.
I'm glad the member enjoyed my singing in 1983. Had the cameras been following my entire teenage years, they would have seen me studying physics at GCSE and physics at A-level too. I support the principle of those 3 sciences being able to be taught separately. And yes, there's a review in autumn 2028, but I think it's important that we do have a review and have a current understanding of whether the curriculum is doing what we need it to do. We remain committed to the successful rollout and delivery of the curriculum for Wales, but a review of the curriculum is something that we are eager to see as an ongoing thing to ensure that we have the kind of depth and breadth that the member mentions when it comes to what is offered in terms of school study and qualification. What my government wants to do, of course, is to make sure that we have the staff needed to deliver that and that they have the support and make it an attractive profession to go into so that future generations are in good hands, whether they study physics or music.
Question 5, Letitia Gonzalez.
Thank you. What steps will the Welsh Government take to raise education standards to ensure that every child has access to high-quality learning in every school?
Education is at the heart of our ambition for Wales, unlocking opportunity for every child and helping build a more confident, innovative and productive nation. That is why raising standards in every school is a core mission of this government. Through our new foundational literacy and numeracy plan and by supporting attendance, behaviour and our education workforce, we will ensure every learner has the strong foundations they need to succeed.
Thank you. In recent weeks, I've spoken with many parents across my constituency in Cardiff who are worried about falling standards in literacy and numeracy and the increasing challenges teachers face in supporting pupils with additional learning needs. Many parents simply want reassurance that their child will receive the funding, support and opportunities they deserve. And that goes for children attending Welsh medium and English medium schools. How will the First Minister turn his mission of improving standards and supporting every school community into action to give all children in Wales the best possible start in life?
I'm glad the member used the word mission. This is a personal mission of ours. It's a mission for this government. We have been clear that education and standards in our schools is an absolute priority for Applied Cymru government. We are proud that we have led the debate on this, trying to give education once again the priority of esteem that it deserves within the broader public service environment in Wales. Progress is already underway for our new foundational numeracy and literacy plan, for our review of the Learner Travel Measure and our assessment of ALN provision in Welsh medium education as part of our first 100 days commitments, and we'll be providing more detail on this later this term, as well as the timeline for the plan.
Lynn Neagle.
Thank you, Llywydd. In the spring statement, the UK Labour Government announced a further £555 million for Wales over 3 years. Most of that funding arose from extra money allocated to meet the needs of children with special educational needs and disabilities in England, and included £300 million extra for Wales this year alone, money that came too late to be allocated in the final Welsh Government budget. Now, we face exactly the same funding pressures with rising numbers of children with ALN with increasingly complex needs in Wales. First Minister, how much of that £300 million is your Plaid Cymru government going to spend addressing the needs of children and young people with additional learning needs?
The member has more knowledge than most. From her previous role of the challenges that we face in education. It's important to point out, of course, that the money in England was in order to clear historic debts. Now, it's not for me to praise the former Labour minister, but those debts were not here in Wales. So it is not additional funding, as it were, for ALN. I think that's something that is for us to bear in mind when we recognise what this funding actually was. The former government managed to take that pressure off, but what we also know is that there is extreme pressure on the whole ALN issue, and we are all, as members, made aware of the difficulties that families the length and breadth of Wales are faced because of challenges with delivering ALN. Already, measures have started to be put in place by my government to look at how we make sure what we have a sustainable level of ALN provision so that parents understand what they are able to get for their children through the education system, and that government is in a sustainable position to deliver that.
Diolch, Llywydd. The reality is, of course, the former Welsh Labour Government, propped up by Plaid Cymru, have let down our pupils, our teachers and school staff across Wales. And that's been for 27 years. For too long, standards have fallen, whilst excuses have risen. Our schools are underperforming, underfunding and failing to deliver the outcomes that our young people deserve. Wales has the lowest PISA results of all UK nations. Attendance remains below pre-pandemic levels. 1 in 5 pupils is reported to leave primary school functionally illiterate. The evidence is clear. Standards have slipped, discipline has deteriorated, and too many children are left behind. And to be fair, when it comes to ALN, when it comes to ALN, they are the unheard children of Wales. Will you now, as the First Minister, commit to delivering a purpose-driven curriculum that raises standards, ensuring that every young person develops the essential life skills they need to reach their own full potential? Diolch.
This is the first opportunity for us to have a Plaid Cymru government, the first opportunity for us to put our principles into practice in government, and striving for the highest possible level of education standards is a core principle as well as a policy of my party and of the government that I lead. We have a proud record as a nation in the delivery of education, one of the first literate general populations anywhere in the world. Those standards and those levels of achievement have been allowed to slip. We will, as a government, not turn a blind eye to that, and I hope the member sees that in placing this among our key priorities, education, health, job creation, cost of living and standing up for Wales, we are serious about delivering. And already the work has begun on that foundational literacy and numeracy plan. We expect to be held to account for our work and our record in raising standards that are long overdue in Welsh schools.
Question 6. Claire Archibald.
First Minister, what plans does the government have to address the ongoing issues in all areas of social care?
We will drive change across social care to tackle pressures and improve access to support. We will shift care closer to home, helping people live independently for longer. We will improve joined-up working, support unpaid carers, and set clearer national standards. To build a resilient system people can depend on, we will progress our national care service and move closer towards care that is free at the point of need.
Thank you so much for your response. As a carer myself, across Pembrokeshire and Ceredigion in my constituency, Labour has reduced the clinical role in our rural hospitals, and the community care to fill the gap has simply not been put in place. The result is delayed discharges, families left struggling, and many people denied the chance to spend their final days at home with their loved ones. We have providers across West Wales handing back contracts, refusing referrals and shelving expansion because they cannot recruit the workforce. So after 26 years of Labour-led government supported by your party, isn't it the truth that rural social care has been neglected and left to pick up the pieces? And what concrete action will your government take to restore frontline social care in West Wales? Diolch.
We are determined in everything that we do to deliver a more joined-up health and social care system, to reduce fragmentation and improve the patient experience. And we must do everything that we can always to ensure consistency of care in all parts of Wales. Call it the postcode lottery, if you like, whether it's your quality of care, the level of provision. We have to make sure that no area is disadvantaged. And the delivery of rural care, rural health care and care services is something that is particularly relevant towards that. And as we progress towards a national care service, we have to remember that word national means something. That care service is something that has to be relevant and sustainable in all parts of the nation, bringing health and social care together with shared, clear accountability. And people in rural Wales should know that this government is on their side, as people in urban areas can too.
Peter Fox.
First Minister, we see so many people across Wales stuck in hospitals because of the lack of social care. Now, to make sure our social care system works as it needs, in your manifesto, you said there is a need for workforce expansion and pay reform. Now, to deliver that, you will be expecting, no doubt, local government to invest more. To enable this, can our councils expect a significant uplift in their future funding, or will you be expecting councils to find this within their existing resources?
Local government is a key partner, as the member knows, in the delivery of care. It was one of the reasons why we ensured through the agreement on the budget for 2026-27 that the firmest possible foundations were laid for local government because of the significant pressures that they face on care, as with many other issues. We look forward to having those constructive relationships with local government leaders throughout Wales to deliver the sustainability that we can within the resources at our disposal.
Question 7, Benjamin Hodge McKenna.
Thank you, Llawn. What action is the Welsh Government taking to support the hospitality sector to safeguard businesses and jobs?
Our manifesto included a range of specific commitments to help reinvigorate our town centres, including reform of the non-domestic rates system. We will explore how to use all the levers available to us to support a thriving, modern hospitality sector, working in collaboration with businesses and communities.
The hospitality sector in Wales generates £5 billion in economic activity and supports sectors like sport and tourism. Alongside that, venues like pubs, restaurants and cafes act as social hubs across Wales to help combat loneliness and give people a place to meet with friends and family. The industry also employs more than 160,000 people. Like many people, my first proper job was working in a pub. The experience that gave me helped me develop foundational skills that I carried forward through the rest of my career. Unfortunately, that pub I used to work in has now been forced to close. Like many other hospitality businesses, they simply could not cope with rising costs across the board. Will the First Minister commit today to reviewing the business rate system for all hospitality businesses in Wales to make the industry more competitive, support local business and grow the Welsh economy?
The member touches on many things that I certainly agree with. You know, the role of the community pub as a third space, as it was described to me recently. You have home, you have the workplace or school perhaps, and then you have that other place where we need to congregate. And it may have been chapels in days gone by, but we need to look at how we build those community hubs, and certainly the pub can be a big part of that. We are determined in looking at that rates issue, to put it in a wider context. And yes, we will look at what we can do around rates relief. It is a manifesto pledge of ours, and the Town Centres Task Force, in our first 100 days, will explore the options for reformed business rates that better support high street regeneration. But we have to put it in a wider context as well. There are other measures that we're determined to take to create a new vibrancy on our high streets, including looking at how planning helps, and it certainly will be one of those issues that our new National Development Agency will look at, how we support those businesses to thrive, and by that bringing new life into our town centres.
Question 8, Gareth Thomas.
How will you remove barriers and ensure disabled people's rights are fully embedded in law and public life in Wales?
We will take forward proposals to incorporate key United Nations human rights conventions, which includes the UN Convention on the Rights of Disabled People, into Welsh law. This will build on existing rights and protections and embed international standards in the way devolved public services are designed and delivered. We're also committed to deliver a robust and action-oriented disabled people's rights action plan with clear lines of accountability and regular and transparent reporting on progress.
Supplementary.
Okay. First Minister, removing barriers and embedding disabled people's rights in law and public life must begin with clear commitment to social model of disability and recognising that it is society, not impairment, that disables people. That requires a rights-based approach across government and with clear duties on public bodies to promote equality, inclusion, accessibility in everything they do. But this cannot remain at the level of intent. We need a robust disabled people's rights action plan with measurable outcomes, clear accountability, transparent reporting to this Senedd. We must also remove barriers to participation in employment, transport and housing, public services, and actively support disabled people into leadership roles. Crucially, disabled people must be central to decisions making, shaping services and ensuring accessibility by default. So how will these commitments be enforced? How will progress be measured? And what formal role will disabled people have in holding government to account? And with 21% of people in Wales being disabled, why is there no dedicated Minister of Disabled People?
I agree with the points made on the need to embed in everything that we do the rights of disabled people. Here, I would hope that we could have agreement across this chamber on the approach, and it's about building on work done by the previous government too. We have a disabled people's rights plan published in December of last year, a 10-year plan with actions ranging across government, external advisory board established to ensure actions are transparent, accountable, responsive. The next meeting actually is taking place later this month. So we will build on that, and I certainly want to invite members here to be able to contribute to that work. Yes, there should always be a role for disabled people in formulating and in enforcing policy, and I'll end by saying that I absolutely, of course, agree and align myself with the social model of disability. We are fully committed to that as a government.
Question now, Shavtaj.
You'd expect me to talk about Fair Work as the former General Secretary of TUC Cymru, so that's me declaring an interest. So Fair Work was a key priority for the last Welsh Government, and because many workers in Wales...
Put the question first.
Okay, so the question is, how will the First Minister deliver fair work for public sector workers across Wales?
Diolch. We will deliver fair work by embedding social partnership at the heart of public services and government, recognising workers as experts, ensuring they are heard in shaping service delivery and working conditions. We will also adopt a fair work first approach to encourage fair, safe and secure work rooted in dignity and respect. These were central messages in one of my first engagements as First Minister at TUC Cymru Congress.
The newbie in town, so I'm still learning. As I was saying, so fair work was obviously a key priority for the last Welsh Labour government because lots of workers in Wales still actually face serious issues such as low pay, job insecurity and weak employment rights, which the UK Labour government is now actually addressing by introducing the employment rights legislation. And having addressed TUC Congress, it's really good to hear that you are committed to fair work. But the proof will always be in the pudding, and it's very important that every public sector in Wales understands that they will not be in a position that all of a sudden that they will see their terms and conditions downgraded or Welshified negatively.
I mean, the proof of the pudding will indeed be in the eating, and the eating in this case will be about whether we measure up to the promises that we have made on our commitments to not just continuing but strengthening the social partnership model that was previously in place, and not just delivering but strengthening the fair work being embedded as a principle at the heart of our public services. It's about delivering better jobs. It's about delivering stronger public services, a fairer Wales, and workers, employers, government sits as partners on the Social Partnership Council, and my job is to make the most of that partnership and deliver for the people of Wales.
Ac yn ola, James Evans.
Diolch, Llywyd. Will the First Minister outline the Welsh Government's priorities for agriculture?
Agriculture is the backbone of our rural economy and the beating heart of our rural communities. This Welsh Government will provide strong support for our farmers. In our first 100 days, we will confirm a multi-year funding cycle instead of the current one-year Sustainable Farming Scheme payment, commission an independent review of the bureaucratic burden on family farms in Wales, and begin work on a new and comprehensive national food strategy.
First Minister, over 2 decades, the Welsh suckler herd has fallen by over 40% here in Wales, and that's put a huge pressure on our critical mass of livestock numbers. We've seen it in our abattoirs across the country. With the numbers dropping, that puts huge pressure on jobs and future security for those abattoirs. Your party in the past has supported the Climate Change Committee's recommendations of lowering livestock numbers. So can you today, you have, First Minister, I've seen you support policies in this chamber on it. You're nodding that you don't agree with me. But First Minister, I want to know clearly, and I'm sure the agricultural community do as well, what are your government going to do to make sure we increase the number of livestock units here across Wales to safeguard our food security and make sure we protect jobs in our abattoirs across Wales?
So our job is to support agriculture as a key pillar, not just of the rural economy, but of rural society. This government has not supported or called for a reduction in livestock numbers. This government has supported environmental policies, but the farmers that I know and those that I speak to want to be seen as being environmentally responsible, and all the actions that we want to pursue as this government is to help agriculture be more sustainable and more profitable and more environmentally sustainable. Now the member might believe that that's not possible, but I'm afraid he's fighting a losing battle there. We have to make it possible, and the agriculture industry is telling me that they want that to be the case. We can make our family farm more sustainable. We can use tools at our disposal to support agriculture in many different ways. I've referred to some of them already, on TB, on NVZs, on the food plan. Measure us on our success in doing so, but we will be supporters of the Welsh family farm in a way that no Welsh government has been before.
Diolch Prif Weinidog, diolch aelodau hefyd. We covered a lot of questions there, so diolch yn fawr iawn, diolch yn fawr iawn. Cyn mynd ymlaen, galwaf ar Andrew R.T. Davies. Andrew, diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you for having a quiet message with me. You want to clarify something on the record.
Yes, thank you. I should have declared a point of interest on the supplementary question on bovine TB, and I would like that to be on the record. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Nawr te, item 2. Cynnig o dan reol sefydlog 9.1 i gytuno i argymhelliad y prif weinidog i fawrydu i berson cael ei benodi'n gwnsler cyffredinol, galwaf ar y prif weinidog i wneud y cynnig. Rhina Biorwaith.
Diolch Llywydd, o pleser ydy enwebu Elfyn Llwyd ar gyfer swydd y cwnsler cyffredinol. Yn far gyfreithiwr ac yn seneddwr profiadol, dwi'n gwybod y bydd Elfyn yn camu rôl efo'r un urddas, yr un angerdd a'r un agwedd bragmataidd y diffiniodd i yrfa fo yn San Steffan a ddenodd barch o bob cwr o dir cyffredin. Mi weithiodd o'n drawsbleidiol i arwain yr ymgyrch dros greu trosedd benodol o stelcian. Mi fu yn lladmerydd diflino dros hawliau cyn-filwyr a thros system gyfiawnder i Gymru. Mae'n debyg i Elfyn ragweld y foment yma mewn cyfweliad efo Dewi Llwyd 6 blynedd yn ôl, gan rannu fod un uchelgais yn weddill ganddo fo, sef i ddod yn gwnsler cyffredinol yn y Senedd. Ddwedodd o ddim wrtho fi, ond mi ddwedodd o bryd hynny, a dwi'n dyfynnu, y byddai'n licio cyfrannu gymaint ag y medrwn i tuag at ddatblygu'r Gymru newydd drwy'r cyfrwng hynny. Llywydd, does gen i ddim amheuaeth y bydd y cyfraniad hwnnw yn un gwerthfawr, meddolgar ac egwyddorol. A dwi'n gofyn i aelodau gefnogi yr enybed hwn heddiw. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi.
Diolch Prif Weinidog. Galwaf nawr ar y darper gawnsler cyffredinol i wneud cyfraniad byr.
Diolch Llywydd. Anrhydedd wrth reswm ydy cael fenwebu gan y Prif Weinidog ar gyfer penodiad fel Cwnsler Cyffredinol Cymru. Ac os bydd y Senedd yn cytuno gyda'i argymhelliad rwy'n addo cynnal y safonau a ddisgwylir gennyf gan y cod gweinidogol ac ymgymryd a'n dyletswydd fel sy'n ofynol gan edrych ar uniondeb, annibyniaeth, parch at reolaeth y gyfraith. Ymrwyddmaf i ddarparu y cyngor clir, cadarn a di-duedd i Llywodraeth Cymru a gweithio at gryfhau ansawdd a hygrededd cyfraith Cymru wrth i ni gymryd y cam nesaf arwyddocaol hwn yn ein hanes datganoledig. Ymrwyddmaf felly i weithio'n adeiladol gyda'r Llywodraeth a gyda chi, y Senedd, gan gydnabod rôl hanfodol y Senedd wrth graffu a sicrhau troloiwder yn y ffordd gwneud penderfyniadau cyfreithiol. Rwy'n addo hefyd i gyflawni fanyleswyddau yn deg, yn ddiwyd, gyda ffocws glir ar fyny'r gorau i Gymru bob amser, a gyda'r egni newydd sy'n lliwio gweledigaeth y Llywodraeth yma, bydd pobl Cymru. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Felly y cwestiwn yw a ddyled derbyn y cynnig heb ei ddiwygio a oes unrhyw aelod yn gwrthwynebu. Nac oes. Felly derbynir y cynnig yn unol a rheol sefydlog 20.36. Nesa, item 3. Cynnig i benodi Comisiywn y Senedd galwaf ar aelod o'r pwllgau'r busnes i wneud y cynnig yn ffurfiol. Helydd Fychan.
Cynnig yn ffurfiol.
Diolch. Y cwestiwn yw a ddylid derbyn y cynnig a oes unrhyw aelod yn gwrthwynebu. Nac oes, felly derbynir y cynnig yn unol a rheol sefydlog 20.36. Item 4. Datganiad a cyhoeddiad busnes. Galwad ar y trefnydd, Helydd Fychan.
Diolch Llywydd. Ers cyfarfod llawn diwetha, mae 2 ychwanegiad wedi gwneud i'r agenda heddiw. Mi fydd y gweinidog cabinet dros iechyd a gofal a'r gweinidog cabinet dros fenter, cysylltedd a gynni yn gwneud datganiadau llafar ar ei blaenoriaethau portffolio. Mae busnes drafft y 2 wythnos nesaf wedi nodi yn y datganiad busnes sydd ar gael i'r aelodau yn electronig.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Galwaf a Mae'r Rowlands.
Hoffwn ofyn am ddatganiad pellach gan y Prif Weinidog dros trafnidiaeth ynglŷn â chau Pont y Borth dros y hanner tymor ac eto bore yma. Roeddwn ni'n croesawu'r datganiad a wnaeth y Dirprwy Unigol dros y toriad ac yn fwy byth y camau pendant a gymerwyd gan Llywodraeth i rwystro rhagor o gerbydau drwy rhydrwm rhag croesi'r bont. Roedd hi'n wythnos brysur yn Bangor Conwy Môn yn croesawu holl ymwelwyr a chysadleuwyr Eisteddfod yr Urdd, ond mae miloedd o dragolion lleol yn dibynnu ar y bont drwy gydol y flwyddyn hefyd, ac felly mae angen mesurau yn ei lle i sicrhau bod y bont ar agor o hyd. Fel fydd Dirprwy Unigol yn ymwybodol bod y Llywodraeth Flaenorol wedi addo byddai'r gwaith cynnal a chadw wedi orffen dros flwyddyn yn ôl, ond bod sawl oedi wedi bod ers hynny ac mae'n ddealladwy felly bod yna rwystredigaeth fawr yn lleol. Mae gen i bob ffydd yn Llywodraeth Plaid Cymru am fod yn llawer mwy gweithgar wrth fynd ati, nid yn unig i sicrhau bod gwaith cynnal a chadw presennol yn cael ei gwblhau mor fuan â phosib, ond hefyd y bydd datrysiad tymor hir yn cael ei ganfod i sicrhau nad oes yna rwystyr i bobl deithio rhwng Ynys Môn a'r tir mawr. Byddai datganiad pellach ar y camau hynny yn cael ei werthfawrogi gan drigolion Bangor Conwy Môn.
Diolch am y cwestiwn. Fel rhywun oedd ar yr ynys, fy mam ynys i, fel rhywun oedd yn ymreiddiol ar gyfer Steddfod yr Urdd, dwi'n meddwl oedd mi oedd yn rhwystredigaeth, ond yn amlwg i bobl yr ynys sy'n byw fo hyn bob dydd ar ansicrwydd, mae o'n fater sydd angen cael datrysiad, a dwi'n siŵr bod yr aelod wedi clywed sylwadau'r Prif Weinidog yn gynharach yn ystod y cwestiynau prynhawn yma. Mae pobl yn Ynys Môn ac ar ledled Gogledd Cymru wedi cael eu siomi am lawer rhy hir o ran gwydnwch croesfannau'r fennau, ac mae heddiw'n profi unwaith yn rhagor pam bod angen canfod datrysiad. Tra fod y Llywodraeth Flaenorol wedi methu a gweld y mater yma fel blaenoriaeth, mi fydd y Llywodraeth yma'n gweithredu gyda fwy o frys a ffocws i geisio ymateb i'r sefyllfa. Dwi'n gwybod bod y Dirprwy Weinidog Trefnidiaeth yn edrych ar y mater hwn ar fyrder, a mi fydd o'n falch iawn o ddod y datganiad llafar ymlaen i'r Senedd wythnos nesaf.
Laura Ann Jones.
Diolch. Trefnydd, there is nowhere to hide now. There are no more excuses. The Supreme Court has ruled, the guidance has been published, and the law is crystal clear. Can the new Welsh Government please issue an urgent statement defining what a woman is for these purposes and give us a definitive timeline on when policies and guidance will be changed to abide by the law so this Senedd can finally seek to protect women and girls across Wales?
The Welsh Government respects the Supreme Court's judgment and is assessing the implication of the judgment and the EHRC Code of Practice for Devolved Services and Responsibilities in Wales. The judgment sets the current legal position and work is underway to ensure devolved policy and practice remain compliant. The Welsh Government will continue to discharge its equality duties and expects all individuals to be treated with dignity and respect. We will support duty bearers to implement the law fairly, consistently and lawfully. But let me be absolutely clear from the outset. This Welsh Government remains steadfast in our commitment to inclusion. Trans people remain a valued part of our communities in Wales and continue to be protected in law from discrimination and harassment.
Lynn Neagle.
Thank you, Trefnydd. Can I ask for two statements? The first is from the Cabinet Minister for Health and Social Care on the back of the Audit Wales report into an Iron Bevan Health Board's dealings with the E-Harley partnership. Myself and the Torfaen MP made representations to Audit Wales, and the report that they've published found that the Health Board did not conduct proper due diligence before letting multiple contracts to the E-Harley partnership. But the report also says that Welsh Government guidance in this area has not been reviewed since 2006. So I'd like to ask for a statement from the Cabinet Minister setting out how the Government will respond. I'd also like to ask for a statement from the Deputy Minister for Skills and Tertiary Education. I was really concerned to see in the list of responsibilities for his new post that, given the huge challenges that we face in tertiary education, the number one item was reform of the SEREN programme. Now, I am really proud of our SEREN programme. It enables our young people to go to some of the very best universities across the UK and including in Wales. And I'm sure none of us would want to see a situation where the opportunities of our young people are limited. And I would like to ask for a statement setting out the priority that this will be for the government.
Diolch am y ddau gwestiwn. O ran y pwynt cyntaf, mi fyddwch chi'n ymwybodol fel wnaethoch chi sôn ynglyn â'r ymchwiliad gan Archwilio Cymru. Yn sicr mae swyddogion Llywodraeth Cymru yn adolygu'r canfyddiadau a'r argymhellion yn llawn ac yn diweddaru canllawiau cenedlaethol i gryfhau'r due diligence sydd ei angen a sicrhau bod trefniadau yn parhau fod yn gadarn yn gymesur ag yn gyson ledled Cymru. O ran seren, mi fyddwch chi'n ymwybodol yn ein cynllun can diwrnod cyntaf, mi fydd Llywodraeth Cymru yn archwilio opsiynau ar gyfer diwygio Academi Seren i ganolbwyntio mwy ar fynd i'r afel ar bwrch cyfranogiad, cefnogi dysgwyr o gymunedau mwyaf difreintiedig Cymru yn ogystal â galluogi dysgwyr yn well i wneud cais i sefydliadau uwch yng Nghymru. Mi fydd y gweinidog sgiliau ac addysg ryddydol yn bwriadu cyhoeddi datganiad ysgrifenedig ar y mater hwn maes o law.
Paul Davis.
I'd be grateful if we could have a statement from the Cabinet Minister for Enterprise, Connectivity and Energy on the 182 vacancy threshold policy for furnished holiday lets. Now, this policy is having a significant impact on the tourism industry across Wales. Now, the latest annual owners survey conducted by the Professional Association of Self-Caterers UK indicated that the vacancy threshold remains the primary concern amongst operators. Now, while the Welsh Government has indicated that this policy is under review, tourism businesses in Ceredigion and Pembrokeshire and across Wales more broadly require greater clarity on the timescales involved in reviewing this policy and when any decisions will be made regarding potential changes to the threshold to better support the industry. Therefore, I'd be grateful if we could have a statement from the Cabinet Minister at the start of this Senedd outlining the Welsh Government's plans for this policy area so that the tourism industry can be clear about this policy and clear about the Welsh Government will be taking action to address their concerns.
Diolch yn fawr am y cwestiwn hwnnw. Mi fyddwch chi'n ymwybodol bod y Llywodraeth hon yn cynabod gwerth y sector twristiaeth i Gymru a bod ni wedi ymrwymo i bod yn edrych ar hyn. Mae'r gweinidog perthnasol yn y siambr, mi fydden nhw wedi clywed eich cais chi heddiw.
And good afternoon, Trefnydd. Welcome to the role. Could I ask, please, for a statement from the Deputy Minister for Public and Preventative Health on the urgent gaps in gambling harms here in Wales? Following the introduction of the Gambling Harms Levy, £1.3 million in funding was awarded entirely to Betsy Cadwaladr University Health Board. But since April, the newly funded service has been unable to meet the needs of all referred clients, leaving dedicated third sector organisations to pick up the pieces and self-fund treatments. Equally concerning is the continued delay by Public Health Wales in establishing prevention commissioning arrangements. With around 2 people every day in the United Kingdom dying by suicide linked to gambling harms, timely access to support truly can mean the difference between life and death. So I wonder if you could take that back to the relevant Deputy Minister. And it is great, actually, to see all of the Cabinet and Deputy Ministers here listening to these questions. So I do hope that we're able to get answers and responses to our statements. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Wel, diolch yn fawr iawn am godi mater mor eithriadol o bwysig ydych chi yn iawn. Mae'r gweinidogion perthnasol yma ac wedi clywed hynny'n uniongyrchol heddiw. Mi fyddwch chi yn ymwybodol o'r ffaith bod y prif gweinidog wedi apwyntio di'r prif gweinidog sydd yn edrych yn benodol ar y meysydd hyn o ymrwymiad y Llywodraeth hon i edrych ar sut ydym ni'n gallu sicrhau yn draws portffolio sut ydym ni'n gallu cefnogi pobl yn well. Da ni yn gwerthfawrogi y pwysau mawr sydd ar y trydydd sector hefyd, sydd yn gwneud gwaith gwirthiol a phwysig, ond hefyd pa mor fregus ydy nifer o'r gwasanaethau hyn, ac yn sicr y ffaith bod ni wedi clywed hynny'n glir. Diolch i chi am ei godio, a dwi'n siŵr fydd y gweinidogion eisiau bod yn ymwneud efo aelodau sydd o'r fan ydych chi wedi mynegu heddiw.
Anna Nicole.
Diolch, Llywydd. Trefnydd, there are particular challenges for the health and social care system in Ceredigion and Penfro, where long distances mean that the centralisation of services away from Withybush and Bronglais hospitals has not worked for people or communities in Mid and West Wales. Hywel Dda Health Board is now consulting again on changes to the way stroke services are delivered, and there are concerns locally regarding the impact of these proposals. Could the government consider, therefore, making a statement on equal access to health services in rural Wales?
Diolch am y cwestiwn ac am fynegi'r pryderon hyn. Mae yna nifer wrth gwrs wedi hamlygu a dyn ni'n deall yn enwedig mewn ardaloedd gwledig lle mae seilwaith trafnidiaeth yn anodd pa mor bryderus ydy hyn. Fel y gwyddoch, mae'r Bwrdd Iechyd eisoes wedi gwneud y penderfyniad ar lawdriniaeth gyffredinol frys, ond nid ydy'r Bwrdd Iechyd wedi cyrraedd penderfyniad terfynol ar werthryneithau stroc eto. Felly fe hoffen ni fel Llywodraeth fod yn atgoffa cleifion, teuluoedd a rhanddeiliaid i gymryd rhan yn yr ymgynghoriad cyhoeddus a fydd yn rhedeg am 8 wythnos. Mi fydd hyn yn rhoi cyfle ychwanegol a phwysig i'r rhanddeiliaid adolygu'r cynigion yn fanwl ac i godi unrhyw bryderon neu roi adborth pellach. Mae'n bwysig bod y pryderon ynghylch cynigion gwreiddiol yn cael eu cydnabod ac mae angen i ni weld gwelliannau mewn gwasanaethau stroc yn enwedig mewn ardaloedd gwledig. Fel y byddwch chi'n ymwybodol, y Bwrdd Iechyd sydd yn gyfrifol am gynllunio a darparu gwasanaethau i boblogaeth leol, ond wrth gyflawni rôl yma, mae Llywodraeth Cymru yn disgwyl i Fyrddau Iechyd gynnal asesiadau trylwyr ar gyfer unrhyw newidiadau arfaethedig ac ymgysylltu a'u cymunedau yn unol a chanllawiau cenedlaethol. Mae'r gweinidog Cabinet dros Iechyd a Gofal yn y siambr, mi fydd o wedi clywed eich cais heddiw, a mi fydd hefyd yn cyflwyno ei ddisganiad blaenoriaethau yn ddiweddarach heddiw, felly mae yna gyfle i holi'n bellach.
Sara Cooper-Lysad.
Trefnydd, constituents in Kenfig have raised serious concerns about the condition of the Ethol in Kenfig following sewage discharges. In fact, this is so serious that the river is devoid of life and little progress seems to have been made in addressing this serious issue. In fact, some members in this House have even addressed this today. So could we have a statement from the Cabinet Secretary on what action Welsh Water is taking and how this Welsh Government will hold them to account?
Diolch am y cwestiwn hwnnw. Dwi'n gobeithio bod chi wedi clywed ymateb y Prif Weinidog yn gynharach ar holl bethau nath o ymrwymo iddyn nhw. Yn sicr mae'r Gweinidog Cabinet perthnasol yma hefyd. Mae hwn yn fater da ni'n gymryd o ddifri. Dwi'n gobeithio bod chi wedi clywed hynny'n glir gan y Prif Weinidog ac yn amlwg mi fydd na gyfle i chi ymgysylltu'n bellach gyda'r Gweinidog Cabinet perthnasol.
Vicky Howells.
Diolch Llywydd, and Trefnydd, I'd like to welcome you to your new role. Along with the environmental campaigners, I was very concerned to hear the recent comments from the Cabinet Minister for Rural Resilience and Sustainability on slurry spreading. The regulations that are in place were brought in by the previous Welsh Government because of the very real threat of climate change and the failure of attempts to protect our waterways through voluntary measures. When so many of your government's promises seem to be getting kicked into the long grass, it's really concerning that priority has been given to measures that can only damage our environment. So please could we have a statement from the Cabinet Minister giving the real detail on what this means and how water quality will be protected. And in addition, on the same matter, I do find it really disappointing that Senedd protocol wasn't followed, and this news was announced to the media before MSs had a chance to properly scrutinise it. The regulations that are in place were voted on by the previous Senedd, so it's only right that any changes should be considered here first. So with that in mind, could I also request a statement from the Welsh Government on how it will ensure announcements are made here and subject to the appropriate scrutiny going forward?
Wel, diolch i'r aelod am y geiriau caredig ar ddechrau cwestiwn hwnnw. Yn sicr, mi fyddwch chi wedi clywed ymateb y Prif Weinidog yn gynharach pnawn ma ar y pwnc hwn. Mi fyddwch chi'n ymwybodol bydd na gyfle i roi cwestiynau i'r Gweinidog Cabinet perthnasol yr wythnos nesaf. Ond gadewch i mi fod yn berffaith glir o ran popeth wedi ddweud ynghylch y maes hwn. Mae hwn ynglyn ar ymgylchedd o ran sicrhau bod ni'n dilyn y wyddoniaeth. Doedd na ddim cyhoeddiad a phenderfyniad pendant yr ymrwymiad oedd o ran adolygu, ac yn sicr mi fydd y Gweinidog Cabinet yn diweddaru a mi fyddwn ni yn derbyn cwestiynau pellach a sylwadau wrth gwrs holl aelodau'r siambr hon.
Darren Miller.
Trefnydd, can I ask for two statements, please?
The first in relation to school funding. I was heartened to see the comments last week which recognised the challenges that schools face across Wales by the new Education Cabinet Minister. And I hope to be able to work with her to improve the quality of education for young people here in Wales. But it seems to me that one of the big challenges that many schools face is the struggle, the annual struggle to make budgets meet. Obviously, there's quite a disparity between local authorities in terms of funding, and I wonder whether the new Welsh Government will consider the implications of a national school funding formula and whether that is something that could be pursued instead of leaving it to local authorities to make those decisions, given the big disparity. So a statement on school funding would be welcome. Secondly, can I ask for clarity on the arrangements for notifying members of this Senedd when ministerial visits take place in their constituencies? It was great to see the new Cabinet Minister for Health and Care taking the opportunity to visit Clwyd Hospital, one of the worst performing hospitals in the whole of the United Kingdom, in Bodlewydden, in my constituency of Clwyd. But I was very disappointed that no notification was received by me or other members of the Senedd for Clwyd, and I think that that is something that we need to resolve in the future because it's a matter of courtesy for all members.
Iawn, a mae'n drwg gen i glywed bod hynny wedi digwydd yn sicr, mi fydden ni yn codi hynny, mi ddyle bob aelod fod yn ymwybodol, a diolch am wneud i'n ymwybodol, doeddwn ni ddim yn gwybod hynny, a mae'n bwysig bod aelodau yn sôn wrtho fi fel bod fi yn gallu dod at y trysiad ger bron, mi ydyn ni wrth gwrs yn parchu bob aelod yn y siambr hon. O ran y pwynt cyntaf, dwi'n gobeithio bod chi wedi gweld y bydd y gweinidog Cabinet dros addysg ar Gymraeg yn dod â datganiad ar flaenoriaethau ger bron yn fuan. Yn amlwg mae cyllid yn rhan bwysig o'r hyn. Da ni yn deall yr trafferthion mae nifer o ysgolion wedi wynebu. Mae hynny wedi bod yn wybyddus iawn drwy waith achos a yr holl gyfathrebu sydd wedi bod gan aelodau i ni fel Llywodraeth a'r Llywodraeth Flaenorol. Felly yn sicr mi fydd yna gyfle i holi'r gweinidog Cabinet ag addysg yn fuan iawn ar y mater hwnnw.
Diolch, Llywydd. I cannot tell you how proud I am standing to ask a question to a Plaid Cymru minister for the first time, especially a minister I respect. But I've always respected all ministers. That's my style. That's my style. Trefnydd, can we have a statement from the Cabinet Secretary for Finance on what support can be available to the businesses which could lose out following the decision to end greyhound racing in Wales at Ystrad Mynach? Most of the last Senedd members, including myself, voted to end this practice. I think it was the right decision as times and public attitudes have shifted. But it's right too that we offer support and assistance to businesses that participated in supplying what was once a very popular sport in Wales. And any statement on how we can help mitigate these impacts would be welcome. Thank you. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch fawr iawn i'r aelod am y cwestiwn hynny. Flattery does not guarantee a business statement, so let me be clear at the outset in terms of that. O ran y cwestiwn, yn amlwg mi fyddwn ni'n parchu'r penderfyniad wnaed gan yr Senedd diwetha. Mae'r ddeddf gwahodd rasio milgwn yn darparu cyfnod pontio clir o fis Ebrill 2027 i 2030 i gefnogi dirwyn y diwydiant i ben yn drefnus. Mae'r amserlen hon gyda'r bwriad o alluogi busnesau a chymunedau sydd wedi effeithio arnynt i gael mynediad at gymorth wedi dargedu wrth i newidiadau ddod i rym. A drwy'r grŵp gweithredu, mi fyddwn ni fel Llywodraeth yn gweithio'n agos gyda'r diwydiant i reoli effeithiau a darparu canllawiau ymarferol.
Ac yn ôl y trefnydd, Jane Bryant.
And Trefnydd, as it's Volunteers Week, I'd like to ask for a statement on support for the voluntary sector. There are over 46,000 voluntary organisations in Wales, with 1/3 of the adult population volunteering, and we also know that many young people choose to give up their time to help others. The WCVA have calculated that last year, voluntary organisations saved the public sector around £1.4 billion, and their total contributions to Wales in 2025 was estimated to be at least £9.1 billion. The Gwent Association of Voluntary Organisations, GAVO, is the largest CVC in Wales, and it's fast approaching 100 years of supporting volunteers in Newport and Islwyn and the wider Gwent. As a Cooperative Party member, I was very glad that Welsh Labour pledged to double the number of cooperatives and community-owned businesses, safeguard funding for community cohesion workers, and expand the system of volunteering credits. So I'd like a statement on how the current Welsh Government plans to support volunteers and voluntary organisations who are the bedrock of our communities all year round.
Wel, gai diolch i'r aelod am godi mater o bwys mawr. Mae gwirfoddolwyr wrth gwrs yn chwarae rôl mor hanfodol ac allweddol, a mi fyddwch chi wedi clywed nifer ohona ni sydd rwan yn y cabinet pan oedden ni yn yr wrthblaid yn mynegu pryder ynglŷn â diffyg cefnogaeth i sefydliadau a pa mor fregus oedd nifer o wasanaethau oherwydd yr angen am wirfoddolwyr, ond hefyd pa mor anodd ydy hi i wirfoddolwyr allu parhau yn y rolau hanfodol hyn. Mae'r gweinidog perthnasol wedi clywed yr alwad yma. Dwi'n gwybod bod hi yn awyddus i gael cyfle i wneud datganiad ar hyn, ond yn sicr mi fedrai'n ddiamwys roed y sicrwydd hwn i bob aelod yma, bod ni'n gwerthfawrogi'r sector hwn yn fawr, bod ni'n diolch i bob gwirfoddolwr am y waith diflino maen nhw'n wneud yn ein cymunedau ni bob dydd, ac yn sicr mi welwch i'r ymrwymiad hwnnw gan y Llywodraeth hon i'w cefnogi nhw.
Diolch yn fawr Trefnydd. Rydyn ni'n symud ymlaen nawr i item nesaf, datganiad gan y Gweinidog Cabinet dros iechyd a gofal, blaen noriaethau ar gyfer iechyd a gofal. Galwad nawr ar y Gweinidog Cabinet dros iechyd a gofal, Mabon ap Gwynfor.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Llywydd. Dwi'n falch o gael siarad yn y siambr yma am y tro cyntaf fel Gweinidog Cabinet dros iechyd a gofal, ac o gael cynrychioli sector sydd mewn gymaint o ffyrdd yn adlewyrchu'n rhinweddau gorau ni fel cymdeithas ac fel cenedl. Does dim amheuaeth fod y Llywodraeth yma wedi etifeddu system iechyd sy'n wynebu sawl ar gyfwng, ac sydd o bosib mewn sefyllfa fwy ansicr a bregus nag y bu hi erioed. Ar draws nifer o feisydd amrywiol, mae cleifion a staff fel ei gilydd yn cael ei gadael i lawr. Mae'r rhestr aros sydd wedi croni yn cyfateb i'r anhelaeth o'r boblogaeth, ac mae rhai ohonyn nhw wedi bod yn sefyllfa yma ers blynyddoedd. Mae adrannau brys yn gwegian o dan bwysau galw di-baid a diffyg capacity, tra bod arferion aniogel fel gofal mewn coridorau yn cael ei normaleiddio. Mae'r safonau gofal ar gyfer cyflyrau fel canser yn dal i lusgo ymhell y tu ôl i'r hyn y bydden ni'n ei ddisgwyl. Mae diffyg cydraddoldeb mewn iechyd yn ôl deryddiaeth, dosbarth hil a rhyw yn dal i fod wedi gwreiddio'n ddifn. Mae'n gweithlu ymroddedig yn gweithio dan bwysau cynyddol, ac mae'r pwysau ariannol yn ddifrifol o hyd. Yn y cyfamser, mae'r galw'n cynyddu, y boblogaeth yn heneiddio a'r anghenion yn mynd yn fwy cymleth. Yn syml, mae'r symptomau'n ddifrifol a'r unig iachad yw gweithredu beiddgar a radical. Yn ystod yr ymgyrch yr etholiad, fe wnes i addo gweithredu yn ysbryd befan ac arwain proses o adnewyddu yn ein system iechyd a gofal. I adfer ein gwasanaeth iechyd gwerthfawr yw briod le fel gwasanaeth y gallwn fod yn falch ohono fel gwlad ac sy'n destun ei ddigedd i weddill y byd. Bydd hyn ddim yn waith hawdd a fydd o ddim yn digwydd dros nos, ond mae'r gwaith yn dechrau rwan ac mi fyddwn ni'n cydio yn y mandad am newid a gafodd ei fynegu mor glir gan bobl Cymru yn y blwch pleidleisio ac yn mynd at un ddiflino i sicrhau'r gwelliannau maen nhw wir yn ei heiddi. Dwi'n gwybod y bydd llu o staff ymroddedig sy'n gweithio ym mhob rhan o'r system iechyd a gofal yn rhannu'r un ddeheuad. Fy mlaenoriaeth i ar unwaith ydy taclo rhestr aros sydd wedi croni. Mae hyn wedi bod yn faen melyn am wddf yr NHS yn llawer hi hir ac mae'n rhoi straen anerbyniol ar staff a chleifion fel ei gilydd. Mae gorfod aros blynyddoedd am driniaeth gyda'r holl boen a phryder sy'n dod yn sgil hynny yn realiti annioddefol i lawer gormod o bobl ar hyd a lled Cymru. A dwi'n gwbl benderfynol o droi'r dudalen ar y waddol driennus yma unwaith ac am byth. We will do this by implementing an ambitious national programme to expand surgical and diagnostic hubs across Wales to reduce waiting times, improve access and increase capacity. My officials are already in the process of convening the expert independent group who will be responsible for developing the delivery plan for 10 such hubs over the next 4 years. And I look forward to regularly updating the Senedd on its progress. We're also finalising a new approach to planned care over the next 18 months, clinically led, nationally directed, and with a clear emphasis on service modernisation. Through these measures, we will see two-year waits eliminated within a matter of months and the overall backlog reduced to pre-pandemic levels before the end of this Senedd term. But this isn't just a case of addressing the immediate pressures of long waits, as urgent as they are. It's putting the foundations in place so that we're never in this position again, and to ensure the NHS can sustainably manage demand. That's why our plan for surgical hubs is predicated on reinforcing local capacity and expertise first and foremost, creating centres of excellence for long-neglected specialisms such as ophthalmology, and providing vital training opportunities for medical graduates. No more will the Welsh Government chase short-term sticking plaster solutions at the expense of long-term planning, strategic coherence and prudent, targeted investment. This will be complemented by long overdue reforms in both primary and social care. It's abundantly clear that from a structural perspective, the health and social care landscape reflects the needs of yesterday rather than those of today and tomorrow. And the implications of the chronic neglect of primary care and social care are plain for all to see. A&E has become an extension of the GP surgery, while hospital beds have become long-term homes for far too many people whose needs could be better and more holistically served in the comfort of the community. That's why we will expand access to out-of-hours primary care to ease pressure on hospitals, underpinned by our commitment to recruit up to 100 new salaried GPs. Work is already underway with our partners to scope a detailed review of funding for general practice to develop options that are balanced, transparent and evidence-based. We're proud to have been the party that initiated the programme to establish a fully integrated national care service for Wales. And in government, we will make further purposeful strides in this direction so that wherever people live in Wales, they can expect the same high standard of care and support. We will also expand community care, strengthen discharge planning and work in partnership with local government and carers to build a system that truly wraps around the individual. Because for too long, the system has been centred on hospital care. We're shifting focus, so people spend less time in hospital and more time living well, independently, in their own homes and communities. This whole system transformation must go hand in hand with fundamental reforms to the governance architecture of the NHS. Governance might not be the most eye-catching policy area, but it is essential to unlocking improvements in performance, accountability and collaboration. To this end, we'll strengthen the role of the regional partnership boards to support closer working between health boards, local authorities and key partners, bringing people together to solve problems with a clear focus on whether it is making a difference for those we serve. In far too many areas, the NHS remains an analogue institution in a digital age. I'm determined to change this through our 10-year digital and data strategy to ensure that our health system has the infrastructure and the skills to be at the cutting edge of innovation. A Once for Wales approach to digital, data and AI and modern infrastructure will help the system work as one, cut duplication, boost productivity and direct more resource to frontline care. The staff who work with dedication and commitment to deliver high-quality care are the lifeblood of the NHS in Wales. We must empower and support them with the right people in the right teams and places and leadership that creates a culture where staff feel valued, safe and able to deliver. I've been clear we need a long-term workforce strategy for NHS Wales, and in the autumn I'll publish this strategy. Working in partnership, we will develop and set out strategic framework with clear, short, medium and long-term commitments, tangible actions and annual review of progress and priorities. This agile framework will mean we can proactively plan and develop our workforce to support our key priorities, such as reducing waiting times and a focus on cancer. I'm also keenly aware of the difficulties faced by graduates in securing employment, including most recently amongst nursing, midwifery and paramedic cohorts. Wales fares poorly when it comes to retaining the wealth of talent we nurture here, and I'm determined to change this. I will be bringing partners together shortly to consider both immediate actions to support this year's graduates and what more can be done to avoid similar problems in the future. But we can't spend all our time firefighting. We must also take bold action on population health and inequality if we are to create a health and care system fit for the future. Llywydd, mae iechyd a lles poblogaeth a dyfodol yr NHS yn dibynnu ar atal salwch y mae'n bosib ei osgoi ac ar ddarparu gofal yn gynt yn y lle iawn ar yr adeg iawn. Mi fyddai'n dod ag arweinwyr system, awdurdodau lleol a chlinigwyr at ei gilydd i yrru'r newid hwnnw, ac i draws newid y ffordd mae gwasanaethau'n cael eu cynllunio, eu comisiynu a'i darparu ar hyd a lled Cymru. Mae'n rhaid rhoi pwyslais ar atal, ac mae penodi'r dirprwy weinidog dros iechyd cyhoeddus ac ataliol yn arwydd o hynny. Mi fyddwn ni'n gweithredu ar draws y cabinet a gyda phartneriaid i daclo'r ffactorau ehangach sy'n achosi iechyd gwael, i leihau anghydraddoldeb ac i wella canlyniadau iechyd, gan gynnwys tlodi plant, bwyta'n iach, gweithgarwch corfforol, tai a chyflogaeth. Mi fyddwn ni'n symud i ffwrdd oddi wrth reoli salwch ac yn rhoi'r pwyslais ar sicrhau bod gan bobl y modd i fyw bywydau iachach a hapusach. A thra byddai wrth y lliw, fyddai ddim yn mesur llwyddiant ar sail nifer y bobl sydd yn yr ysbyty, ond yn hytrach ar sail y nifer na fu raid iddyn nhw fynd yno yn y lle cyntaf. Yn olaf, mae'n rhaid i ni hefyd fod yn effro i'r bygythiadau gwirioneddol i statws yr NHS fel sefydliad am berchnogaeth gyhoeddus sydd ar gael am ddim pan fwy angen. Dwi'n credu'n angerddol bod y gwasanaeth iechyd yn eiddo i bobl Cymru, heddiw ac am byth. A dwi'n addo gwneud pob peth yn fy ngallu i'w amddiffyn yn erbyn y biliwnyddion anatebol a'i gweision gwleidyddol fyddai'n ceisio elwa ar ein ased cenedlaethol mwyaf gwerthfawr. Llywydd, yr hyn dwi wedi nodi heddiw ydy'r camau cyntaf ar hyd llwybr hir dymor o adnewyddu. Dwi'n hollol ymwybodol o faint yr her, a wna i ddim addo o bydd canlyniadau cadarnhaol ein agenda i'w gweld yn amlwg yn syth bin, achos dwi ddim yma i chwilio am ddatrysiadau cyflym ac atebion hawdd, ac mi ddylai hynny fod yn wir am unrhyw un sy'n credu yn yr hyn sydd orau i'r NHS. Ond drwy ganolbwyntio'n llwyr ar ein nod terfynol, dwi'n ffyddiog y byddwn ni, erbyn diwedd tymor y Senedd yma, wedi dechrau ysgrifennu pennod newydd ddisglair yn hanes ein system iechyd a gofal cymdeithasol. Mi fyddwn ni'n mynd at un ddi-oed drwy uchelges a gweithredu pendant i ddiogelu'r gwasanaeth iechyd ac i greu Cymru iachach a thecach gyda system iechyd a gofal sy'n rhoi pobl yn gyntaf ac yn cyflawni'r newid sydd ei angen ar ein cenedl. Diolch.
James Evans.
Diolch, Llywydd, and can I thank the Cabinet Minister for his statement today and welcome him to his new role. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all our NHS staff and health and social care staff across Wales. Health and care is one of the greatest responsibilities any minister can hold, because behind every statistic is a person, a family, and often someone who has waited far too long. You have said, Cabinet Minister, that the system is beset by crisis. You said patients and staff are being failed. You said emergency departments are buckling. You said corridor care is becoming normalised. You said cancer is lagging behind. You said the workforce is stressed and financial pressures are acute. On that assessment, Cabinet Minister, you are right. But here is the problem. You cannot diagnose a crisis and then prescribe another strategy. The people of Wales do not need another speech about renewal. They need treatment, they need appointments, they need operations, they need an ambulance to arrive on time, and they need to see a GP. The Welsh NHS doesn't need any more slogans, it needs delivery. You talked about the spirit of Bevan. Well, Bevan did not build the NHS with a press release or something swanky on social media. He delivered it, and now that is the real test for you. And there are areas where we can agree. We support a health service free at the point of delivery. We support better prevention. We support GP services, faster cancer diagnosis, improved dementia support, proper support for unpaid carers, and a social care system that treats care workers with the respect that they deserve. But warm words will not be enough. Wales has had plans after plans, target after target, and promise after promise. And what patients need now is a government prepared to be judged on results. On waiting lists, you said the immediate priority is to tackle the backlog. You promised that 2-year waits will be eliminated within a matter of months, and the overall backlog will be reduced to pre-pandemic levels before the end of this Senedd term. So let us have a straight answer today. How many months? 3, 6, 9? Because within months might sound good in a press release, but it means very little to someone who's waiting in pain at home for their operation. On surgical and diagnostic hubs, I welcome the principle. High-volume elective care hubs can make a real difference in areas such as orthopaedics, ophthalmology and general surgery. But you said an expert group is being convened to develop a delivery plan for TED hubs across 4 years. So where will they be? Where will each one open? Who will staff them? And how will rural patients be able to access them? Because a hub without staff is just a sign on the door. Wales has had enough of announcements that sound big on the day and then disappear into a system never to appear again. On primary and GP care, the Cabinet Minister, I want to put this to you directly because I've sat with you in this chamber, I've sat with you in committee, and I have heard you time and time again call for more support and more funding for primary care. You also backed the Health and Social Care Committee's report in the previous Senedd on GP practices in Wales. Now you're no longer asking the questions, you are the person who has to answer them. So will you implement those recommendations in full, yes or no? On social care, you are right. Too many people are stuck in hospital beds because care is not available in the community. That is bad for patients, bad for families and bad for the NHS. But a national care service must not become another expensive layer of bureaucracy. So will you guarantee today that money will go to frontline care, not more boards, not more structures, and not more administration in Cathays Park? On unpaid carers, Wales does rely on these every single day. They save our public purse billions of pounds. They feel invisible, exhausted and unsupported. And timely carers' needs assessments are welcome, but they must lead to real support, respite, practical advice and emergency help when families need it, and we need that now, not months down the line. On cancer, you admitted Wales is lagging behind. That is a serious admission, and I agree with you. Wales does need a cancer action plan. So I ask you, when will it be published? Is it going to include proper targets for diagnosis, for treatment, for outcomes? Let's have the answer. On workforce, you said a long-term strategy will come in the autumn. Cabinet Minister, autumn is becoming this Welsh Government's waiting room, isn't it? Because everything you want to seem to be doing is going to be done in the autumn. We have staff pressures now. We have graduates worried about jobs. We have vacancies now. And what immediate action are you going to take before the autumn? Because the time is ticking. And on prevention, I agree with you. We cannot keep treating a system that actually waits for people to become seriously ill before acting. Sport, physical activity, reducing obesity, and making sure people stay healthier is very important. So can you outline, Cabinet Secretary, how that, and that's the previous Cabinet Minister, how you're going to make sure money flows? I'll come to the end now, Deputy Presiding Officer, I can see you looking at me. Cabinet Minister, you have the biggest job in government. You have made big promises to the people of Wales, and I'll just tell you, we will be watching, the people of Wales will be watching. You asked for power, now it is your time to deliver. Diolch.
Thank you, James, for those comments. I'd like to thank the opposition member for raising some of the issues that he has. The member was quite right in stating that we need to ensure that we thank the NHS and care staff in Wales. Absolutely, they are working hard out there in very difficult circumstances, and I also extend my gratitude for all the work that they are doing. The member said that he agreed with my assessment. If only he could agree with the diagnosis and the ideas that I have to put forward as well. He did when he shared the committee with me, so I look forward to cooperating with the member over the next few years in delivering these. So when the member says that it's not time for any more slogans, we need delivery, that's exactly a slogan in itself. But you say that the party that he's a member of supports the NHS free at the point of delivery. I welcome hearing that, but that's not what the leader of his party says in London. The leader of his party constantly refers to constantly refers to the NHS not being paid out of taxation. How does he propose to pay for the NHS in Wales? I don't know. That's why we are committed to making sure that the NHS will be free at the point of delivery and owned by the people of Wales while Plaid Cymru is in government. The member spoke about the backlog that we have in the waiting times, and I referenced that in my opening speech. And absolutely, this is about delivery. That's why we've spoken about delivering elective care hubs across Wales, making sure that we can get those people seen quicker, the high-volume treatments done, and people can go home on the same day. We know that there's a lack of efficiency and productivity in the NHS in Wales. That's why we will ensure that theatre space and theatre time is utilised to its maximum. The member also referred to primary care and the fact that he says that he didn't have any ideas about what we were proposing. Again, I mentioned that in my speech. We've already started the process as part of our 100-day delivery of identifying how we can shift resources from secondary care to primary care. We've already started at looking at employing the 100 GPs that we spoke about. The member also spoke about care assessments. Plaid Cymru has a proud record in making sure when we came to an agreement on the last budget with the previous Welsh Government that we would ensure that local authorities were funded so that we could deliver on those promises. Then the member talks about cancer. I had a meeting yesterday with the Chief Nursing Officer and the Chief Medical Officer to start the delivery of a cancer plan in Wales. Finally, the member spoke about the need for a workforce plan. We've been waiting 15 years. We've already started that work, and I will deliver a high-level workforce plan in the autumn. So that responds to all of the points that the member raised. That was the challenge. We're already answering them. I look forward for his cooperation in delivering them.
Ken Skates.
I'd like to thank the Minister as well for his statement, and on behalf of Welsh Labour, I'd like to thank the incredible health and care workforce across Wales. And for complete transparency, Clywyd, can I declare that my oldest brother works for Novo Nordisk. Now, NHS waiting lists have now fallen for 10 consecutive months, thanks to the incredible work of NHS staff and the previous Welsh Labour Government's £120 million of investment. There is still more to do, and it is now for Plaid Cymru to ensure that progress doesn't falter. Now, whilst I appreciate the Minister's statement, there does remain some significant questions about various areas of service that remain to be answered. In opposition, and this is a question that has been asked twice now, I shall ask it for a third time. In opposition, you pledged to eradicate 2-year waits within months. Minister, by when will 2-year waits be completely eliminated in Wales? Now, the Minister will be aware of the current industrial dispute affecting specialist nurses in the Cwmtaf Morgannwg Health Board area. Minister, will you intervene to ensure the Health Board respects the job evaluation process, and by when can you commit to have the issue resolved? Now, back in November 2024, when you were in opposition, you promoted 29 recommendations in a document entitled The Welsh Health System Accountability, Performance and Culture. I see very few of your recommendations reflected in the statement of priorities today. And amongst them was a recommendation to establish pay parity between social care workers and NHS staff. So, do you still stand by all 29 recommendations? And by when can social care workers expect pay parity? Now, you previously said we won't be able to afford new hospitals of the size of the University Hospital of Wales, clearly because the UK government doesn't provide the capital funds for things like that. Now, funding for capital projects like this, it doesn't rely on direct UK government funding. Welsh Government chooses what to spend its record levels of capital funding on. And we in Welsh Labour plan to spend £4 billion in rebuilding hospitals, including University Hospital of Wales and Wrexham Myler Hospital. Minister, will you rebuild UHW and Wrexham Myler Hospital? And how much of the Welsh Government's circa £4 billion of annual capital funding will be spent on our hospitals, not just on hubs? And finally, can you guarantee under this Plaid minority government, you will not reduce investment in primary, secondary or social care. Diolch.
Thank you to the member for those points that he raised. Now, the member referenced waiting lists. His previous government didn't have the proudest record in tackling the waiting lists, and that's why we are having to take radical action in making sure that waiting lists are decreased now. We've spoken about establishing 10 elective care hubs across Wales. That is what we will do. We've spoken about ensuring that we have a validation process, that those people on a waiting list should be on a waiting list, and those who don't are seen in the appropriate place, making sure that people are seen sooner and with the care that they need. That's why we know that the plan that we have, and we are confident that what we are putting forward will make sure that those 2-year waits will be eradicated in a matter of months. Now, the member spoke about health visitors in Cwmtaf. Well, I met with the chair of Cwmtaf Morgannwg University Health Board a couple of weeks ago. I've also spoken previously to Unite officials, and I'm clear that both parties need to work together in social partnership in order to find common ground and resolve this as soon as possible, because the work of health visitors is absolutely essential. When we talk about the preventative agenda, we know that they carry out crucial work in making sure that people are seen earlier and things don't escalate. And the member refers to the document which I published a couple of years ago now on governance. I'm glad that he read the document, and it's a good document for others who might want to read it, even if I say so myself, absolutely. And in that, yeah, absolutely, we talk about paid parity, and that's why, once again, I refer to the proud record that Plaid Cymru has of starting the process of merging health and social care, and that's what we will be completing as a Plaid Cymru government. At the moment, my colleague Dilynwch Jewel will be looking at that and ensuring that that is delivered and that we can see the fruits of that under a Plaid Cymru government. Finally, the member spoke about a £4 billion for capital bills for hospitals, which was proposed by the Labour Party. The member forgets that we are now in government and we see those figures too, and that was completely unrealistic, those proposals put forward by the Labour Party at the time. We have a backlog of worth £1.5 billion in hospitals across Wales, including Llangwili, including Llanclwyd, including Bronglais, across the whole of Wales. That needs to be looked at. So we will be prioritising those backlogs, making sure that everybody across Wales gets parity of care.
Ashgar.
Officer, firstly, I'd like to congratulate the Cabinet Minister on his new role and thank him for this afternoon's statement. Cabinet Secretary, I really hope that we can work constructively together over the course of the Senedd term to help deliver improvements our health service needs and our constituents rightfully deserve. It's no secret to anyone in this chamber and beyond that our health service is in a perilous state, and whilst most of the blame can be laid on the previous Labour government's door, there's no getting away from the fact that Plaid Cymru are equally culpable for the damage they have caused supporting Labour time and time again over the previous Senedd terms. Now, Plaid Cymru has a real opportunity to make up for the past errors now that they are in government, but where is the immediate action, Cabinet Minister? NHS waiting lists remain shamefully high, with patients in all 4 corners of Wales languishing in pain, yet detail on how to tackle it remains very vague. Cabinet Secretary, you have vowed to eliminate 2-year waits within a matter of months, and I hope for the sake of residents that you are indeed successful, but how exactly are you going to achieve this? Because we cannot afford for this to be another broken promise. Improving access to care where needed is paramount, and in Newport and Islwyn there are growing calls for an A&E department at the Royal Gwent Hospital to be reopened, something I raised with the First Minister directly myself earlier today, and I'm now going to try my luck with you. The Grange Hospital is under immense pressure, and by reopening an A&E department at the Royal Gwent, my constituents can access care closer to home, and this will hopefully ease some of the burden at the Grange. Based on the information from the Health Board itself, it will roughly cost around about 10 million to bring back the unit in the Royal Gwent. Not a great deal in the grand scheme of things. Cabinet Minister, will you and your officials engage with Anara and Bevan Health Board to look into potentially reopening the A&E department at the Royal Gwent, as it is something that my constituents are desperately crying out for? I'd also really appreciate, Cabinet Minister, if you could share a bit more light on how the government is going to alleviate the pressure on other A&E departments and free up capacity in hospital wards across Wales. Cabinet Minister, I want to raise the UK National Screening Committee decision not to recommend a national prostate screening programme. This is incredibly disappointing, as we know the earlier cancer is caught, the better, and given prostate cancer doesn't often present with symptoms, testing is indeed key. And I hope my colleague Paul Davis, MS, doesn't mind, but I'd like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to the great work that he's done and continues to do so in raising awareness and campaigning for improvements in this area. So, Cabinet Minister, will the Welsh Government commit to introducing routine prostate cancer screening for men here in Wales? I am slightly surprised that there was no mention of dentistry whatsoever in this afternoon's statement, especially given the major challenges many residents face in accessing a dentist. Cabinet Minister, I would also appreciate a brief overview on what steps you are going to be taking on taking in this area and what we can expect to see in action going forward. Maintenance in NHS buildings in Wales are also missing from this afternoon's statement. Shocking. The bill for repairing buildings at high or significant risk stand at nearly £1 billion. So I would be grateful if the Cabinet Minister would outline what action will be taken in this area by this government. I welcome the focus on technology. It's a key area for health services that need to be fit for a 21st century remit. Can I get a commitment from the Cabinet Minister that this improvement in technology will also see an uptake in data collection across the board in as many areas as has been, because it's been significantly lacking over many years. Recently, there have been some rather concerning revelations about the Welsh Gender Service, which I have written to you about, but it would be remiss of me not to raise this with you here this afternoon. The service is referring between 3 and 4 times the number of people for irreversible gender surgeries in the UK average. Not only that, but it does not collect information on the number of patients it recommends for cross-sex hormones. Given these red flags at the Gender Service, will the Welsh Government launch an independent review into its practices and leadership? Cabinet Minister, as the South Wales Argus reported on their front page this weekend, there has been a great deal of concern around Aneurin Bevan's Health Board awarding £10 million of GP contracts to E. Harley Street without proper due diligence checks being carried out. I know this was touched upon before with the First Minister. However, Audit Wales' probe into this matter is damning and raises serious concerns about governance, accountability and financial oversight within the Health Board itself, with patients and staff left facing disruption and uncertainty as a result of poor scrutiny before contracts were indeed awarded. I have said before, and I shall say it again, the Welsh Government must now establish whether there have been similar incidents in other health boards within the Welsh NHS and ensure robust safeguards are in place to prevent this from happening again. To that end, Cabinet Minister, for sincere transparency, will you hold a Wales-wide investigation into health board contracts? There is plenty more that I can delve into today, Cabinet Minister, but I will leave it there for now and just reiterate that I really do hope we can work constructively going forward this Senedd term. Thank you.
Thank you to the member for those points raised. Now, the member started by accusing Plaid Cymru of being what she said equally culpable in the demise of the health service. Now, this is our first time in leading government, may I just remind you, but your party also proposed to support the budget of the previous government. We managed to secure extra funding for the NHS in the previous government, putting money where our mouth is. So the member also asked about details on the action plan, which I have already set out in my previous statement earlier today. And that 100 days plan has spoken about how we're going to start with looking at the validation of the waiting list, the elective care hubs that we're going to develop, the investment in primary care and improved diagnostics. All of that I've already set out. Now, the member also twice there asked about engagement with Aneurin Bevan Health Board. I and my officials have regular engagements with Aneurin Bevan Health Board, and I am happy to raise issues that the member might want to do so at those discussions. If she writes to me, then I'll be more than happy to do that. Regarding the screening of the prostate cancer, that's an interesting development that we've seen, absolutely. And we will carefully look at and consider the evidence put forward by the National Screening Committee, because as we've heard several times in discussions this afternoon, we have to follow the science. We have to make sure that we follow what is best for the patients and that we have the best outcomes, because we are, as a government, are outcome-led. We want to improve outcomes for the people of Wales. And on dentistry, the member will know full well that it's Llawn on the front bench here that put forward the plan to develop a dentist school here in Wales, for North Wales, working jointly with others. And that's what we will start to do. We're starting that process to look at how best to ensure that school delivers dentists as soon as possible. And then the issues were raised about maintenance, which I've touched on in previous responses, and efficiency, which I've also touched on in previous responses, so I won't repeat those. So finally, I'm testing the patience of the Llywydd, I know. Data and digital is key. The member realised that digital is key, but we're also pushing forward with data so that we have consistency of data gathering across Wales, and that's part of the programme as well.
Diolch. Rydym lawr yn symud i gyfraniadau o 1 funed. Galwa Jane Dodds.
Diolch yn fawr, Llywydd, and good afternoon, Cabinet Minister. Welcome to your new role. I just wanted to ask about social care. I know you and I have both raised these issues in the previous Senedd. We know that right now 1,275 people are stuck in hospital beds unnecessarily. They are waiting for social care, either for delivery of the services or for assessments. These people, the ones deteriorating in wards where they should be at home, are the ones that need urgent results. We know that the Welsh Local Government Association has projected a social care funding gap of over £200 million this year alone. Yet the previous budget provided only £180 million across both health and social care. In November, your good self described social care as the most underfunded and overlooked pillar of Welsh healthcare. And you're absolutely right. So could you please outline exactly what your response is to those people stuck in hospitals right now? Diolch yn fawr.
Yes, thank you to the member for the points that she has raised, and she's absolutely right that social care is crucial. If we are going to resolve the issues facing our health service, we need to resolve the issues facing social care, but the issues facing those that are being delayed from discharge, those who can't get a care package, is more than just the social care, it's also the primary care. It's a whole system approach, which is what we're looking at here, ensuring that we invest, yes, in primary care, making sure that people don't clog the system on that front end, and then making sure that people can be discharged safely so that there's care in the community. And that's what the plans we've put forward look at, ensuring that that care is in the community closer to home so that people are seen closer to their home. And finally, just to touch on something I mentioned earlier, that's part of the reason why we want to ensure that we merge that health and social care, so that we make sure that there's no gaps in that system, that the people are working together, organisations talk with each other. That's also why we've proposed, and I put forward the idea earlier, about ensuring that regional partnership boards work effectively, so that local authorities and health boards do talk to each other and that people don't slip between those gaps. So absolutely, the member is right in pointing out the importance of this. My final point is that we will also instruct Llais to appoint a social care champion, and I will be working with my Deputy Minister to make sure that happens, and that champion will be meeting regularly with the Deputy Minister to bring forward any issues.
Diolch. Now, Minister, members, I know I used to be the worst offender when I was in that position, but if we... thank you. But if we can keep the contributions short and the answers as short as possible as well, though we want the information, we can try and get through as many members as possible. Gwyn Williams.
Diolch, Llywydd. Dyn ni'n gwybod bod restrau aros y gig yng Nghymru o dan llafur wedi bod llawer rhy hir a llawer rhy uchel. Gyda'r data mwyaf diweddar yn dangos 666,000 o gleifion dal yn aros cyn dechrau triniaeth. O'r rhain ni, mae bron 25% yn aros dros 36 wythnos neu fwy. Yn ymrofiad i fel ophthalmolegydd, mae gormod y rhain sefyll llawer rhy hir am driniaeth am gyflyrau fel macular degeneration a'n mynd yn ddall fel canlyniad o hyn. Mae'n amlwg bod angen newid sylfaenol i'r ffordd y mae'r gig yn gweithredu, a dwi'n falch na fydd y Llywodraeth Plaid Cymru newydd yn parhau gyda'r drefn arferol. Felly, Gwyditog Cabinet, a allwch amlinellu pa gamau pellach fydd yn cael eu cymryd i ostwng y restrau aros a sut bydd y Llywodraeth yn sicrhau gwelliant canaliadwy yn hytrach na dibynnu ar fesurau byr dymor fel allanoli, outsourcing i gwmnïau private. Diolch.
Diolch i'r aelod am y cwestiwn, a diolch am ei waith blaenorol o fewn gwasanaeth iechyd. Ni'n falch iawn o'i gael o'n aelod o'r grŵp mwyn medru'n cynghori ni ar nifer o bethau yn y maes iechyd. Mae'r aelod yn iawn i uwcholeuo pwysau arbennig yma ophthmoleg, enghraifft, yn dioddau. Mae ophthmoleg wedi cael ei esgiluso'n arbennig gan y Llywodraeth blaenorol, rhywbeth amlygwyd yn gryf gan adroddiad y Pwyllgor Iechyd yr oeddwn ni'n rhan ohono. Ond i ateb i gwestiwn penodol yr aelod, mae gennym ni raglen uchelgeisiol mwyn sefydlu y hybiau llawfeddygol ar draws Cymru, fel dwi wedi sôn amdano, mwyn delio gyda'r pwysau restr aros sydd yn llawer rhy uchel. A fe nes i'n weld a chanolfan o'r fath yng Nghastell Nedd a Fort Talbot yn ddiweddar mwyn gweld effaith go iawn ar gleifion. Ond mae hefyd yn bwysig pwysleisio nad dim ond achos y ddelio gyda'r pwysau fel maen nhw ar hyn o bryd ydy hyn, mae hefyd yn ffordd o ymgorffori gofynion gofal dewisol yn fwy cynaladwy mewn i weithgarwch rheolaidd yr NHS yn y tymor hir, ac i sicrhau na fyddwn ni fyth eto yn y sefyllfa ydyn ni wedi bod yno. Bydd yn cynlluniau gofal dewisol felly, gyda chefnogaeth adolygiad annibynnol y berfformiad yr NHS yn gyrru'r cynnydd hwnnw. Yn hyn o beth, ni fyddwn ni felly'n gorfod dibynnu'n unig ar brynu capasiti allanol, ond ar drail buddsoddiad strategol mewn cryfhau gwasanaeth lleol, mi fyddwn ni yn buddsoddi yn capasiti yn yr NHS yng Nghymru.
Archibald.
Welcome, no, congratulations, I should say, actually, not welcome. You just mentioned ophthalmology, and I just wanted to ask, before the election, funding had been identified to tackle the growing cataract surgery waiting list, but progress was reportedly put on hold, obviously during the election period. Now that the election is over, will the Welsh Government commit to delivering that funding in full, and can the First Minister, or the Health Minister, provide a clear timetable for when patients waiting for cataract surgery will see the benefits of this investment? Thank you.
Diolch i'r aelod am hynna. Mae'r pwynt mae'n codi ni'n arbennig o bwysig oherwydd mi oeddwn ni, fel dwi wedi sôn, yn rhan o'r adroddiad y Pwyllgor Iechyd a Gofal ddari edrych fewn i ophthalmoleg ac yn ymwybodol o'r diffygion sydd ganddo ni yn y maes gofal iechyd. A felly dyna pam yn bod ni fel rhan o'r broses o leihau rhestr aros wedi sôn am yr hybiau yma, ac mi fydd elfen o'r hybiau yna yn edrych ar yr anghenion volume uchel, high volume yma sydd ganddo ni, cataracts yn eu prith nhw, mwyn gwneud yn siŵr fod pobl sydd yn dioddau yn cael ei gweld yn gynt ac yn medru mi mewn ymdriniaeth ag allan ar yr un diwrnod. Yn ogystal â hynny, mi fyddwn ni'n edrych i gwneud yn siŵr fod strategaeth genedlaethol ar gyfer ophthalmoleg yn cael ei weithredu mwyn gwneud yn siŵr nad ydy pobl yn dioddau yn fwy nag sydd i hangen.
Jane Bryant.
The Cabinet Minister to his role. 1 in 3 deaths in Gwent between 2018 and 2022 happened prematurely, and some of those were preventable. The 3 main causes were cardiovascular disease, diabetes and cancer. In my constituency, both county and the community and Dragons RFC work extensively with people of all ages and both men and women. Newport County's Fit Fans programme is a great example of sport taking a leading role in preventative health for both men and women. Grassroots sports clubs play a leading role as well, and their impact is far-reaching. Sports helps to tackle obesity, prevent other physical and mental health conditions, whilst also tackling loneliness and social isolation. I was surprised that there was no mention of mental health, and also surprised there was no mention of women's health in the Minister's statements today. But Plaid Cymru's manifesto includes a commitment to invest in sports and physical activity as part of the preventative health agenda. Can the Minister tell us how much that investment will be, and where will the money come from?
Thank you for the points raised. Now, if I can go straight to the point around mental health and women's health, that's why the First Minister has appointed a Deputy Minister with those points exactly in her title. And she will be looking with a laser-like focus on ensuring that we develop the mental health projects that we need, and working on the good practice developed by the previous government with the Women's Health Plan and improving that even further and strengthening it. So I'm looking forward to working with Delyth Jewell on those programmes. When it comes to sport and the preventative agenda, again, the First Minister has made a point of appointing a Deputy Minister with the preventative agenda in mind, making sure that the preventative agenda is at the top of what we do and what we look at. That's why Nerys Evans will be working with Helen Vychan and with others across the front table here in ensuring that we look collectively in government at how we can ensure that that preventative agenda is embedded in everything that we do. We know that the greatest social determinant of ill health is poverty. That's why Nerys will be working with Adam Price. We know that housing is an issue. That's why Nerys Evans will be working with Sian Gwenllian. We know that health illiteracy is a problem. That's why she'll be working with Anna Brychan. You see the pattern. So preventative agenda is absolutely crucial.
Darren Miller.
Cabinet Minister, you've suggested that there's too much of a focus on hospital care in your statement today, and you seem to be hinting at the fact that you think that there are too many hospital beds. Can you tell us whether that is your view or not, and whether you will guarantee to people of Wales that you will not close any hospitals on your watch as a Cabinet Minister over the next 4 years? And in fact, can you tell us whether you will deliver the long-promised new North Denbighshire Community Hospital for the people of Rhyl and the whole of the North Denbighshire coast? They've been waiting for that hospital for 13 years, and it is absolutely essential that it is delivered, but not at the current scale, which suggests that it will be just 14 beds. We need to make sure that the original scale of that project is delivered, which is 30 beds, in order to alleviate the problems at Glenclwyd Hospital down the road, which, as we all know, is one of the worst performing emergency departments in the country. That needs to change, and that project can deliver it.
The member suggests that I say that there's too much focus on hospitals and that I would like to see hospital beds reduced. I haven't said that at all. In fact, if the member had read our manifesto, he would have seen differently that we need to strengthen that hospital bed based, and that's why absolutely I do support the North Denbighshire delivery, because as the previous government, in fairness, said at the time, having those extra beds in the community will ease pressure on Glenclwyd, and that's what we need to see, making sure that we've got those step-down facilities, that those recuperation facilities in the community, so that people can leave General Hospital and be cared for closer to home. So that's why, yes, absolutely we're committed to developing that North Denbighshire Hospital, and I look forward to opening it when it's finished.
Sarah Evans.
Diolch, Llywydd. We know that primary care is often the first point of contact with our NHS, yet across Wales, GP services have faced significant pressures for many years, particularly around recruitment, retention and long-term sustainability. In my constituency, communities have faced real uncertainty following threats to local practices, driven largely by difficulties recruiting and retaining GPs. Recent statistics show that Wales has once again seen a reduction in both the number of fully qualified GPs and the number of practices over the past year, while organisations including the Royal College of General Practitioners and the BMA have warned that GP retention is now one of the most urgent challenges facing NHS Wales. I therefore welcome this government's commitment to strengthen GP services. Cabinet Minister, will you outline what measures will help stabilise GP services, support recruitment and retention, and ensure that communities across Wales can continue to access local primary care services? Diolch.
Those are vitally important points and in part answers the question put forward by the leader of the Conservatives. So primary care is where over 90% of patient contact with the health system happens. And yet the prolonged neglect of this vital pillar of the system is exacerbating both costs and pressures further along the line. We are committed to shifting resources to rebuild and strengthen the foundations of primary care that has been sapped so badly over the past decade. And I will soon be convening a summit of health board leaders to develop a sustainable roadmap to this end. Central to our plans for primary care is to recruit up to 100 additional salaried GPs to expand out-of-hours activity, focusing in particular on more deprived areas that face disproportionate barriers to accessing services, working in conjunction with the Deep End programme. We'll also be introducing a specific grant to support the overhead costs of GP practices, which we know is deterring recent graduates from setting up their own practices, and exploring technological innovation to reduce administrative burdens on clinicians, thereby unlocking more time for face-to-face contact with patients. We've also gained valuable insight from our engagement with primary care leads in Northern Ireland, where the federated model has proved highly successful in terms of staff retention, and this is something I'm very keen to replicate here in Wales.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Gweinidog Cabinet. Rydyn ni'n symud nawr ymlaen i'r eitem nesaf, datganiad gan y Gweinidog Cabinet dros ac yn ei galwaf ar gweinidog Cabinet dros fenter cysylltiad ac ynni Adam Price.
Diolch yn fawr, Llywydd. Mae Cymru ar agor ar gyfer busnes. Rydyn ni'n genedl gyda chryfderau economaidd sylweddol, ledled ein gwlad. Rydyn ni'n gweld mentre ffyniannus, diwydiannau sy'n gystadleuol yn fyd eang, prifysgolion cryf, gweithlu medrus iawn a chyfleoedd go iawn mewn sectorau fel gweith gynhyrchu uwch ac ynni glân. Mae rhain yn asedau y byddai llawer o wledydd yn eiddigeddus ohonynt. Ac eto, ers gormod o amser, nid ydym wedi llwyddo i elwa ar y cryfderau hynny mwyn cyflawni'r lefel o berfformiad economaidd y dylem ei disgwyl. Nid diffyg potensial yw'r her ganolog sy'n enhwynebu. Mae'n fethiant i iwireddu'n llawn. Yn rhy aml, nid yw'r gwahanol rannau o'n system economaidd. Buddsoddiad, seilwaith, y byd academaidd, sgiliau, allforio, cynllunio ac arloesi wedi cyd-fynd â'i gilydd. Pan fydd yr elfennau hyn ar draws y sector preifat a'r sector gyhoeddus yn cysylltu ac yn atgyfnerthu ei gilydd, mae twf yn dilyn. Pan nad ydyn nhw'n gwneud hynny, mae cyfle yn cael ei golli. That's why this government is placing productivity at the heart of its approach. Productivity is the foundation of long-term prosperity. It underpins wages, living standards and competitiveness. Today, Wales continues to lag behind, with productivity around 15% lower than the UK average. But productivity is not an abstract measure. It's about raising incomes, creating better jobs, and ensuring prosperity is shared all across Wales. At its heart, productivity depends on two things: the capabilities of our people and the performance of our firms. It's shaped by whether businesses can innovate, scale, adopt new technologies, and compete in higher value markets, and whether people have the skills to contribute, adapt, and progress. That's why we are adopting a new approach, a mission to tackle productivity and a target to reduce Wales's productivity gap by half with the UK within 10 years. And now the work begins to realise that ambition. We're moving towards a whole system model. Our mission is clear: to strengthen productivity, enabling firms to grow, invest and innovate, supported by a skills system that equips people not just for work, but for progression. Entrepreneurs, education, finance, innovators and businesses are the engine of economic growth. Our responsibility is to create the conditions in which businesses can succeed. That means removing the blockers they face, whether in planning, access to energy, access to finance or infrastructure. It also means ensuring the support around them, skills, research and innovation, actively supports their development and growth. We will make Wales the easiest place in the United Kingdom to start, grow and invest in a business. Nid yw hyn yn ymwneud â gostwn safonau. Mae'n ymwneud â gwella sut mae'r Llywodraeth a'i phartneriaid yn gweithio, bod yn gliriach am flaenoriaethau ac yn gyflymach wrth wneud penderfyniadau i gyd-gysylltu'r systemau y mae busnesau'n dibynnu arnynt. Her allweddol y mae rhaid i ni fynd i'r afel a hi yw maint busnesau. Ychydig iawn o fusnesau yng Nghymru sy'n tyfu i'r maint lle gallant fuddsoddi yn hyderus mewn arloesi, gwneud defnydd llawn o'r sgiliau sydd ar gael a chystadlu mewn marchnadoedd gwerth uwch. Felly, byddwn ni'n canolbwyntio ar gefnogi cwmnïau i dyfu, gan gryfhau'r sylfeini sy'n galluogi'r twf hwnnw. Mae diwygio yn system sgiliau yn gynolog i hyn. Byddwn ni'n sicrhau bod y ddarpariaeth sgiliau yn cyd-fynd yn agosach ag anghenion economaidd gan sicrhau ei bod yn cefnogi gweithgarwch gwerth uwch ac yn galluogi unigolion i symud i rolau a chyflogau gwell. Byddwn ni'n cryfhau cysylltiadau rhwng addysg, cyflogwyr a'r sefydliadau ymchwil fel bod gwybodaeth yn llifo'n fwy effeithiol i'r economi. Ochr yn ochr â hyn, byddwn ni'n adeiladu system arloesi gryfach gan gefnogi cwmnïau i fabwysiadu technolegau newydd buddsoddi mewn ymchwil a datblygu ac elwa yn llawn ar gryfderau ymchwil sylweddol Cymru. Rydyn ni'n cynabod hefyd bod rai o'r ffactorau sy'n lliwio ein economi y tu hwnt i'r reolaeth ddatganoledig. Dyna pam y byddwn ni'n gweithio yn adeiladol gyda Llywodraeth y Deyrnas Gyfunol gan alunio polisi a buddsoddiad lle bynnag y mae bydd Cymru i wneud hynny. Partnership will be critical at every level. We will work closely with businesses who understand the barriers to growth in real time. We will identify the barriers firms face, assign clear responsibility for resolving them, and ensure that they are addressed quickly and effectively. When a business in Wales wants to grow, innovate, or invest in its workforce, it should know exactly where to go. And when something stands in its way, it should know exactly who is responsible for fixing it. Likewise, we will work with trade unions who bring essential insight into workforce conditions, skills needs, and the lived experience of workers across our economy. Their combined perspectives will help ensure our policies are effective, inclusive, and grounded in reality. But delivering this agenda also requires change in how we operate as a government. A key step will be the establishment of a new National Development Agency. This will be a modern, agile organisation operating at arm's length from government and drawing, crucially, on private sector expertise. Its purpose will be clear: to support growth of Welsh-owned businesses, attract inward investment, and strengthen innovation and capability across sectors. This new agency will provide focus, connecting businesses with finance, investment-ready sites and premises, advice, skills, innovation, research and export markets, and I look forward to announcing the next steps, including the establishment group, in the coming weeks. Llywydd, this is a moment of opportunity. Wales has the assets, the talent and potential to succeed. What is now needed is leadership and delivery. It requires focus and a relentless emphasis on delivery. It requires a government prepared to make choices and act with pace. And it requires a clear mission, one that puts productivity, people and firms at its core. That is our mission. Diolch yn fawr.
Jason O'Connell.
Diolch, Llywydd. Thank you for your statement, Minister, and congratulations on your appointment. I have to relay my initial concern about the direction of the Welsh economy if the answer to the challenges that we're being presented with is to bring back a failed Welsh Development Agency. History tells us that another unnecessary bureaucratic quango was linked to illegally inflated redundancy payments where directors flew first class around the world while communities across Wales were left behind. And this is Plaid's answer to the economic decay that infects our towns and valleys. The same model, the same results, not even new branding. The WDA did indeed create some jobs, but it also created a hollow-out Welsh economy that enabled easy transit of organisations out of the country. When it became cheaper to operate elsewhere, foreign companies left and they took thousands of high-skilled jobs with them. Between 1998 and 2008, Wales lost 171 foreign-owned sites, around 31,000 jobs. Still now, Wales suffers weak productivity, low wages and significant economic underperformance compared to the rest of the UK. And while Wales has just one FTSE 100 company, Welsh businesses are closing at an alarming rate. And that is the WDA legacy. Perhaps that's what they talk about in Boston. But reform would do things differently. No additional bloated quangos. No new layers of bureaucracy. And no abdication of ministerial responsibility to unnamed and unaccountable civil servants. Reform would put Welsh business at the heart of everything we do. We would leverage the tax system to create the environment in which companies, directors, entrepreneurs and risk takers succeed, cutting barriers to relocation, speeding up planning approvals and reducing regulatory burden, making Wales genuinely competitive and attractive for investment. And that is the difference a reformed government would make. Now, Minister, let's talk about our high streets. Across Wales, illegal shops masquerading as businesses are polluting our high streets. In Caerphilly, we saw a car wash exposed as a people smuggling network worth millions. Dilshad Sharmo, Ali Kadir illegally organised the smuggling of thousands of migrants into Europe. And Minister, your leader might not believe illegal immigration exists, but our communities up and down this country will tell you it does. And it affects every single one of us, whether you wanted to admit it or not. Even in my own constituency, shops have sold illegal tobacco and vapes to children while openly displaying drug paraphernalia in shop windows sold as cultural ornaments. Reform will put an end to this black economy. Reform will put genuine Welsh businesses first and work with the UK government to stamp out criminality on our high streets. So, Minister, I challenge you today. Take action and show that Plaid will not ignore what their own eyes are telling them. Minister, how will you and your government work with local police and the Home Office to crack down on criminal enterprises masquerading as legitimate businesses, harming the genuine Welsh economy? And finally, let me turn to the subject of energy. Welsh households are being hammered by rising energy bills due to foreign conflicts. This we all know. Where this government or the previous government gets this right, you will have our full support, as has been seen with the SMR project at Wilfer, which will power thousands of homes, create jobs and boost energy security in Wales. Yet Plaid's answer is once again to put ideology over the people you are meant to serve. In your 74-page manifesto, not once do you mention the word nuclear. Instead of embracing the opportunity in front of you, Plaid prioritised green ideology over affordability and energy security. The US and the world's major superpowers are all forging ahead with their own high-spec SMR projects at historic rates. Yet Wales again is suffering delay after delay with a government that only has plans for plans and nothing that can be measured or delivered. No plan for childcare, your flagship policy, no plan for the economy, and no plan for a brighter, more prosperous Wales. So with that in mind, where does Plaid really stand on the energy issue? Because reform, to be clear, backs nuclear. Minister, you once said the nuclear was the wrong answer for Wales. Do you stand by this? And does your party stand by this? How does opposing nuclear power help families in Wales struggling to pay their energy bills or secure energy security? And why should businesses invest in this country of ours, bringing jobs and prosperity, when your government isn't clear about what it believes in and how you will achieve it? Diolch.
Could I first of all congratulate the member on his appointment to this important opposition position, and I look forward to engaging with him both in the course of scrutiny in this chamber, but also more widely as well. There are no monopoly on good ideas, and I think it's important that we engage to the extent that it's possible in a constructive way to try and collectively help Wales achieve its economic potential. I'll start with, in that spirit, there were some elements in there where there was common ground, and we're keen to build the common ground. Ultimately, as a nation, this is a collective endeavour. We all have a role to play. Opposition parties, I know I've occupied that position. Opposition parties also have an important role to play, not only in contributing ideas, but also holding us accountable to the target that we've set. We agree that creating the business environment, which is the most conducive in order to allow businesses to achieve their potential, is absolutely essential. We're committed to do that, and we've said we want to hear the ideas of business, principally, because of course they will have the best information about how we can do that. But if the party of the member from Reform also has practical ideas that we can put into place, short, medium and long term, then he will find that my door is open. We're all about building consensus where we can. There was an interesting kind of consensus there between the opposition spokesperson and indeed the previous administration, because they both agreed that there was no need for a development agency. I would say, look, we want to be evidence-led, and the evidence from right across the world shows pretty conclusively, if you ask pretty much any leading economist in this area, that development agencies are the tried and tested tool for any nation, region or anywhere else that has driven up the kind of trajectory in terms of productivity growth that I've described. Is it the only thing that you should do? Absolutely not. We're not going to achieve it just through the development agency, but it's a pretty necessary tool in the toolbox based on the experience elsewhere. In terms of the town centres, we absolutely are committed to having a revitalised town centre strategy for town centres the length and breadth of Wales. They are important in their own right as employers, but they're also, they're critically important in other ways. If we want to attract and retain talent, the quality of place in our communities, is absolutely intrinsic in order to achieve that goal as well. So they are right foursquare, front and centre, part of our economic strategy. We will be setting up a town centre task force. We're committed to do that in the first 100 days. And again, if there are ideas, I heard a lot of negativity, but if there are positive ideas from the party behind me or anyone else, we are in the business of taking the best ideas that we have, turning Wales into the best place to set up and grow a business, to drive our economic progress along the ambitious but achievable goal that I've set out today.
Shabtaj.
Diolch Llywydd, and thank you to the Cabinet Minister for his statement. So we've heard a lot about the government's plans, of course, about the new Welsh Development Agency, but people aren't asking for promises. They want action, and they want it now. Creating a new sort of agency takes time, it takes effort, it takes money, and it takes focus, of course. And people in Wales don't want or need quangos or structures just for the sake of it. What we need is more well-paid, skilled and secure work in every single part of our country. Because right now, families are genuinely feeling the pressure, making ends meet, paying the bills. That is the stark reality. Just last week, we saw the energy price cap go up again. Too many people still facing impossible choices, rationing their energy at home, adults skipping their meals in order to make sure that their own children are being fed. Those are the things, and just getting into debt. Those are the realities of the everyday person out there. The people that we represent, they can't afford to wait any longer. So our focus, my focus, will be on the outcomes for working people. How many well-paid jobs are going to be created in all of our communities? That will be the measure of success. In the 12 months leading up to the Wales Investment Summit, Wales attracted 4.6 billion of inward investment. That meant real opportunities, real jobs all over the country. Now, we know that Plaid talk about their ambition for Wales, and of course, we all share that. We know because the reality is, will those actions then match it? Can the Cabinet Secretary tell us whether his new development agency will beat this figure? Welsh Labour established, of course, the Welsh way of working, that Social Partnership Act, hand in hand with the trade union movement. So I will ask, of course, will social partnership remain at the heart of decisions that you are then taking in terms of the development agency and the results it produces in terms of jobs, investment and opportunities? Right now, we're seeing major changes to the economy and, of course, jobs being done in Wales due to the adoption of artificial intelligence and the transition to net zero. If these are done well with workers at the centre of government thinking, we can see real opportunities. The Cabinet Minister talks about the need to close that productivity gap.
So when we're thinking about the opportunities of AI in various sectors and services, we need to then, of course, make sure that any economic reward lifts workers up, not comes at their expense and at the expense of their jobs. We're being told that we need to move faster on greener energy to create jobs and bring down bills, but at the same time, the government is creating uncertainty about how that energy is going to be delivered. Because, again, the reality is this. The fastest and most affordable way to deliver green energy at scale is wind power, supported by overhead infrastructure. So which is it? Getting that energy to people quickly and affordably, or holding it up with higher costs and delay? People want cheaper, cleaner energy, but they also need it delivered quickly and at scale. Delay, uncertainty and inaction will not bring down bills. So how will the Cabinet Minister ensure that these decisions don't slow down investment, push up costs and block the very same jobs that they promised to create? And how will you then, of course, make sure that delivery is fair, that communities like mine in Cardiff and Taff, which feel very much left behind for too long, actually see and feel that benefit first? Because people in Wales have heard, honestly, enough about ambition, and they are tired of the pilots. They want things to go and they want things to move really quickly. Because people in Wales have heard, people in Wales are very clear. They need more money in their pockets. They need more money in their pockets. They need more secure work. They need jobs and opportunities in the place that they call home. Good, fair work jobs. So, can the Cabinet Minister be clear? When will these jobs be created? Where will they be created? And how will people know that progress is actually being made?
I welcome the opposition spokesperson, the Labour spokesperson to her post as well, and I look forward to engaging in detail on all of the issues that she raised. I think that it's important to bring us back, isn't it, to the focus of today, which is the announcement of a goal, a target, which we lacked for 20 years. And one thing that nobody can absolutely predict the future with 100% certainty. It's not possible, right? But one thing we can predict, if you don't have a goal at all, if you don't have a target at all, you'll never achieve it. Yeah, you can't even measure progress. And that's why, the first step in any plan to revitalise the Welsh economy is to be clear about the direction of travel. In the absence of that clarity in the previous administration, we had decades of drift, didn't we? So we are setting that right. Actually, I think we've broken all sort of governmental land speed records. Here, I'm not even 3 weeks in to being Minister for the Economy, and yet we have set out clearly the goal that we are setting for the Welsh economy over the next decade. And, what flows from that then, many of the things that she talked about, I agree with. Look, we have to increase the speed of decision making. But part of that comes from being aligning your actions, keeping a focus, and you can't do that unless you have a clear goal. Now that we have that, of course, work is already ongoing, and many of the elements that she referred to in terms of the development agency and the role of the development agency, yes, foreign direct investment will remain, for our economy as for any economy, it will remain an important element within our economic strategy. What it cannot be, and to reference some of the comments from earlier as well, it can't be the only element. Yes, it has to be balanced with actually investing in the capability of our own business base, because, of course, they are rooted firms, they are embedded firms, they will actually deliver the platform for long-term growth. But, of course, foreign direct investment can play a part in building up clusters and sectoral competitive advantage, and we will use the development agency to deliver that kind of knowledge and action in a way that will be far more effective than was possible under the previous administration. We'll have a further opportunity to talk about how the different elements within my portfolio, connectivity, enterprise, we made it very clear, of course, all of these things, economic infrastructure, which includes transport, digital infrastructure, which includes energy as well, all of that needs to be aligned towards this single economic mission goal. If we get that right, if we get the different parts of the system, then actually we can really motor. It's important, though, that that energy system delivers for the needs of Wales. Yes, we've been here before at other energy revolutions, haven't we, which didn't deliver for Wales. Part of that is about ownership. Part of that is understanding what are the energy needs of our communities and our businesses. And yes, that should actually be reflective in competitive advantage for businesses from our energy potential, but also wherever possible through community ownership, actually delivering lower bills for our people as well.
Janet Finch-Saunders.
Congratulations, Adam, on your new role. And I have to say, I'd like to stop right from the start of this new government where we tore Wales down, and I don't mean you. One of the spokespersons here today actually was just about talking Wales down. Now, I have more confidence and some faith in the new government. We have to give that. I've worked with them over 15 years, many members of them. So I'm willing, and Rhyn knows when we both were elected on that day, I said, I'll be watching you, and I'll be watching Reform too. But the thing is, we've got to be positive now, because as has been said here today, Wales is in a mess business-wise, and, there's a lot to be done. Now, today they've mentioned about Menai Bridge, and I am disappointed that I did put an urgent question in. It was a very urgent issue, and I do feel it merited the urgent question, but for some reason that question was denied. But it won't stop me doing it when urgent issues. So last week in May half-term, and whilst competitors from all schools from all over Wales were competing in the Eisteddfod, and I'd like to pay tribute to everybody involved in that and the organisation, massive organisation that went behind it, but it was bedlam, and we've still got bedlam today on the Menai Bridge. So when you've said you want to meet with me, and Mark, you've said the same, that will be one of my priorities, and the A55, those roundabouts. And generally, though, in your statement today, I haven't seen much about infrastructure, enterprise, connectivity, and that's what the portfolio is all about. As you know, I've got my meeting next Friday in Llangefni. I've made it cross-party. We've invited the Bangor Conway MP, the Labour, and also Llawn Medi, the MP in Ynys Môn. I've invited all the other MSs, the other 5, and county councillors from Anglesey, because I believe it's time to start working together more collectively. When I was out knocking doors, people were saying, why are you always arguing? Why don't you work together more cohesively? And where you've got good ideas, I'll work with you, Rhyn, and I'll be bringing many good ideas to you, as will other members. But we've got to be positive. Now, I've mentioned previously about junctions 15 and 16. I do believe that broadband connectivity, the previous Welsh Labour government, let us down fundamentally, because 96% of all households was their commitment, but it's around about 93% that actually have broadband connectivity. But there was no mention at the time about businesses. And I have businesses now who are really struggling to function. And we want more and more Welsh businesses starting up, staying in business, but they need that broadband connectivity. So you're not going to have a good economy in Wales unless you've got good road infrastructure, good broadband connectivity. We've also got very poor mobile phone connectivity, and I've been working single-handedly with Vodafone and all the phone companies, and we've now got, it's taking time, I have to say, it was planning permission went through quite some time ago, but bringing those masts to Venue Cymru is a priority for me. You talk of Wales being open for business, but in your first statement as Cabinet Sec, there is a complete absence of a plan to fix our roads. So I feel that's a glaring omission. Our transport system is not fit for purpose. we have to get more inward investment into Wales. But unless you put those priorities in place, then we're not going to see any improvements. But I say, let's stop talking Wales down in the first instance. Who would want to invest in Wales as a business if all you do, the politicians, new politicians who have come here to make all these changes, or so you say, we can't judge you on your record because you haven't previously had any elected reform members. I can only talk about the experience I've had. I've been here 15 years and I've seen Welsh Labour and Plaid to some degree, because you've propped up the Welsh Labour government. I've seen many of your failings. I'm prepared to give you a chance now, and I will work with you. We will be a constructive opposition. Diolch yn fawr.
Yeah, I really welcome the spirit in which the member has offered her remarks, and I certainly will be taking up her offer of working together where it is possible to design solutions to the people to the problems that the people we all represent collectively face in their daily lives, and in this context in ensuring that we get the best possible economic outcomes. New ideas from any direction, I think, are absolutely incredibly valuable, and we will approach this important responsibility we have in a collaborative manner in the way that she described. In relation to some of the specifics, I think the member is right to point to the absolute centrality of infrastructure. I mean, if we think about the productivity goal that we've set out, the mission today, then most economists would say there are three key elements in terms of the long-term success of achieving that kind of productivity growth. One is skills, the other one is innovation, the third one is infrastructure. And so getting the infrastructure right so that our businesses then have the platform that they need in order to deliver their own business potential. So absolutely we will be focused on that, and you're right to keep us focused on that, and we look forward to further opportunities to explore how exactly we do that. In relation to the situation in terms of some of the key strategic corridors, which she mentioned, one of them has been mentioned several times today, the Menai crossing, then we as a government are absolutely clear on the importance of that and the resilience of that crossing. We understand absolutely, directly, I think I can say, the urgency of coming up with solutions which are both short, medium-term and long-term durable ones. Indeed, and just to, if I may, Llywyd, to correct the statement that was made earlier about budget agreements, Plaid Cymru actually did agree a budget agreement with the then Labour administration in 2017 for £3 million precisely to support the design and development of a third Menai crossing. To quote Max Boyce, I know because I was there, and that has given us the platform so that we can now, in an accelerated and focused way, move forward. That work has already started in scoping, and indeed we've also had similar conversations in the context of Bryn Glas as well, and we want to look holistically at the entire network. And I can say that the Deputy Minister and I have also had our first expansive discussion about potholes as well. So maintenance is also part of the picture, isn't it, in terms of maintaining our infrastructure. So I look forward to continuing this engagement in the manner that she set out in a constructive way, so we can actually collectively achieve progress on behalf of the people of Wales.
Cabinet Minister now is the distinction of the first quotation from Max Boyce of the 7th Senedd term. We look forward to many more. Rydyn ni'n symud nawr ymlaen at gyfraniadau o 1 funed, ac I ddechrau Ciara Marshall.
Diolch Llywyd, a diolch Cabinet Secretary for your statement today. I consistently hear from young people all across Wales that there is a lack of opportunities for work and training in their communities. In Wales, we've consistently had one of the highest proportions of 18 to 24-year-olds not in education or training, limiting their life chances and holding back our economy. This also leads to young people leaving Wales. Too many people my age and younger feel like they have no choice but to leave Wales. So in light of missed apprenticeship targets and the previous Labour government's poor record on supporting young people into work, will the Cabinet Minister outline how this new Welsh Government will improve access to education, employment and training and ensure that young people, particularly those who have grown up in poverty, are able to build their futures in Wales?
I'm really grateful to the member to putting this right at the core, really, of our discussion this afternoon. Because if you think about the engine of the economy, well, the absolutely central engine is the potential of our young people, which far too often now and in our past has been wasted potential. The young people and have been locked out of opportunity, and our productivity mission is about building the bridge back so those young people can achieve their true potential. And that includes young people that, through necessity, have left Wales. And that's why, as part of our diaspora strategy, we will be trying to create opportunities for those who want to return to Wales to work and to set up businesses. And in relation to skills, as I said earlier, that has to be right at the centre of our strategy. So in the first instance, understanding in as clear a way as possible the needs of a business, what are the challenges, opportunities through a skills audit, having a skills summit then so that we can design a skills system that delivers for Wales, but absolutely central for that is delivers for the young people of Wales and ensures that they have the opportunity to achieve the potential that they undoubtedly have.
Louise Emery.
Llawn, and in relation to the question I'm going to ask, I'd like to declare that I have a small self-catering unit next to my home. All the economic impact assessments that I've read recently relating to the tourism levy, which your party supported, show a potential reduction in GVA and a loss of jobs. So how can the grow, invest and innovate mantra of this new agency also apply to the tourism sector?
The tourism sector is an absolutely key part of our economy, and it has great potential to grow. We don't, for example, at the moment, achieve a sufficient proportion of international visitors to the UK. I was glad to welcome some Canadians in the inaugural flight from Toronto. There are many things that we can do with the tourism sector, and we're keen to have that approach, a close working relationship with them. Tourism levy, of course, ultimately is a decision for local authorities. Conditions and the context in Wales will be different in many places, but there's an opportunity for that levy to be used to support the tourism sector, to actually turn it into a sector which delivers for our economy, but delivers sustainable, high-wage employment opportunities throughout the year for our young people. And we are absolutely ready, willing, keen, able and enthusiastic about working with the tourism and the wider hospitality sectors, because we have a fantastic product, we have great opportunities, so let's actually realise that potential together.
Vicky Howells.
Diolch, Llywydd, and thank you, Cabinet Minister, for your statement. I'd like to welcome you to your role. I know from working with you previously on the Economy Committee that this is a portfolio area that you are truly passionate about. I'd like to focus on energy. We've all seen how rocketing energy bills are having a devastating effect on family finances across Wales because of unstable global markets. So it's more important than ever that we produce the homegrown clean energy that we need faster than ever before. Building on a point raised by my colleague Shav Taj, we know that Plaid Cymru have said that they prohibit large steel lattice pylons immediately. Now, we all want to protect our landscapes, let's be clear on that, but this immediate approach risks making it slower, less attractive and more expensive to produce the clean energy that we need. So I do believe there are crucial questions for this Plaid Cymru government to answer. Can you guarantee that the cost of this new infrastructure won't be passed on to consumers in even higher energy bills? And can you guarantee that we will meet our legally binding target of 100% of electricity from renewals by 2040 with these limits in place?
I think that the member is absolutely right to raise the question of energy costs, and it's true for individual consumers and families. It's true also for businesses as well. So I think the question for us is, can we get smart and creative in using the potential that we have in terms of clean energy in ways in which actually deliver lower cost. So we believe that one of the most effective ways of doing that is to build community-owned, locally owned infrastructure. Actually that, there's proven evidence that that can deliver lower cost to households, but also looking at how we can actually use that principle and apply it to businesses as well. So looking at things like on-site generation, behind the wire, using private wire as in the jargon, which means that you then can avoid some of the network costs which drive up the price. So we are absolutely keen to have that conversation. Our position on pylons on new distribution lines is absolutely clear. Just on cost, building long new lines of distribution, over many kilometres, is, not the best way possibly to address the cost issue. Yeah, there are other ways, the ones that I've described, that actually can deliver lower cost for families, for communities, and for business, and we'll be focusing creatively and innovatively at those areas where we can have the greatest impact.
Mark Jones.
Diolch Llywydd. As Plaid Cymru's economic strategy outlined, Wales has a wealth of small businesses and a relatively high proportion of large firms, especially in the economic powerhouse that is Flint Wrexham. It's clear that supporting micro businesses to scale up has been an issue in Wales, and the business support available is fragmented. The plan for a new development agency is therefore very welcome and will have real benefits in supporting the growth of Welsh businesses, improve their export functions, while also supporting international investment in Wales. Could the Cabinet Minister therefore outline the work being undertaken to establish this agency and how it will ensure that foreign direct investment works with and for Welsh businesses and communities?
I really welcome the member's question, and you're right. I think it's long been a shared understanding among those that have looked at the question of why Wales over many decades has underperformed compared to its potential. This missing middle, and so we have many micro businesses in Wales, which actually very important in terms of our local economy, as we previously described. But what we do lack is those businesses at scale, and getting from small to medium and getting from medium to large as well with home-grown businesses. That is a critical element in any country or region that has achieved its economic potential. And so that will be one of the key areas of focus for the new development agency. And then it's about understanding, look, what are the constraints and what are the opportunities? And they'll be different on a business-to-business basis. And that's why having account managers that actually are then able to tailor that support package. It might be finance with a particular business. It might be a business that has identified a new export market. Well, that's the kind of very agile, dynamic approach that a development agency can deliver.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary. I should declare an interest. I've worked with Lord Grimstone in the UK's Office for Investment, so I deeply care about this as someone who's seen at close hand what can be achieved when you've got the true ingredients together. A properly designed body in this circumstance, according to his own figures, attracted well over £50 billion. That experience makes me more, rather than less, enacting about delivery. Such a body only works with genuine commercial freedom and clear accountability. And Wales has tried various models that have lacked this in the past. So my question is clear. Why is this different to other models that have come in the past? How will this agency recruit the expertise the standard model cannot, and what are the clear targets so that success can be measured? So this creates a one-stop shop for investors to come into Wales and to invest.
I think that's a really great question, and I think that and I really look forward maybe to having a further conversation with the member, drawing upon her own evident experience and expertise. I think, how can we get it? You're absolutely right. We need, actually, if we're going to create the kind of business-facing, agile and dynamic organisation that we need, then we need to draw on business expertise, people that have run, founded, and in some cases turned around, major successful business organisations, both within Wales and internationally. And we'll have more to say about this in the next few weeks. But drawing upon that commercial expertise is going to be critical, not just in the design phase that we will be going through, but then in the operational phase as well. Of course, a public agency always has to have guardrails. There was reference to what went awry in the previous Welsh Development Agency. We understand there needs to be a framework, doesn't there? But also you need to empower and enable an agency to work in a different way than is possible for a centre of government to do. So there are some examples that we can draw upon. So as well as tapping into business acumen and expertise, the other thing we need to do is look around the world internationally and say, well, who are the best? Who are the best in class that have really done this? And then obviously translate that into our own context and conditions. And I look forward to engaging with her and with businesses across Wales in order to get this design as right as we can in the early stage, and then making sure that we learn as we go forward. We adapt as we learn more about what works.
Mike Hedges.
All right. A question really, probably in three parts. The first one is, what use of artificial intelligence to improve productivity is planned? The second one is, how will the Minister support computing and life science departments in universities so that spin-offs from them can grow and provide high-paid, high-quality jobs? And carrying on with startups, I always remember that Hewlett-Packard was started in a garage by 2 people and Amazon in a garage by 1 person. I mean, what support is going to be given to not only getting the companies to start up, but more importantly, to get them to grow? Far too often in Wales, we have companies, they start off, they get to a medium size, they can maybe employ a couple of 100 people, and then all of a sudden they get eaten up, taken over, bought, whichever terminology you prefer, by larger companies. And what can we do to ensure that they stay in Wales and don't sell out at the first possible opportunity?
Yeah, no, I really thank the member for all those very pertinent questions, actually. And there are many things that we have many of the raw ingredients of success, as I've described. And one of them, actually, is we do have great universities with, highly relevant subject matter expertise. And what we are not so good at, and this is true not just of Wales, it's true of the UK as a whole, actually. We have great ideas, we have great research. We're not very good at commercializing that research in the way that, for instance, the United States of America classically is able to turn knowledge into products for new startup businesses, some of whom grow, of course, significantly become unicorns. So there's a bit of bridging work there, and the government actually plays an important part in providing that bridge. I think that venture capital is certainly, again, it's lacking in the UK. It's certainly lacking in Wales. The Development Bank, I think, has done a fairly good job at what I would call passive capital. So that's kind of business lending, effectively. Venture capital is a form of active capital, where you don't just get money. You actually get the know-how and the knowledge that comes with the money, because those investors really want to protect their investment to the extent that they're possible. And then I think we need to look at our startup ecosystem. Part of building an effective startup ecosystem, and this comes into, where actually an arm's length agency is better, because failure, right, and risk are absolutely necessary part of building up a startup ecosystem. If you only actually invest in surefire bets, then you will never actually get startups that will scale up eventually. So you've got to put some guardrails against that, where you're involving public money as well. But there are startup ecosystems, there are places in the world that do this very well. And I'm not just talking about Silicon Valley, they're in a scale scale of their own. There are other places similar to Wales that does this well, and we will learn from them very, very quickly indeed. Well, Flanders is one, actually. That's an example of a region which has reinvented itself precisely in the manner that I just described.
Diolch fawr iawn, Gweinidog Cabinet. With apologies to the few members who remain, and we have gone over time already, but we covered a lot of questions there. So my thanks to all members for their patience and for ministers as well for answering as quickly as they, and as fully, but as quickly as they can as well. Nawr, nid oes gennym pleidleisio heddiw. Felly, daw hynny a thrafodion heddiw I ben. Diolch yn fawr iawn.